Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Irish Breakdown Podcast. I'm Vince D'Addario. That guy's Brian Driscoll, and we will be joined shortly by Sean Davis, potentially Trevor Trowbridge, depending on traffic leaving the stadium. Who knows? It's going to be a treasure trove of hosts for this post-game show, and you know what? It should be, because we're talking about Notre Dame's win, first ever, by the way, college football playoff win in history for Notre Dame, okay? And they won 27-17 over IU. Big win for Notre Dame, obviously. Huge moment for them. As somebody mentioned early on, or I should say after the game, 27-17, IU puts up 14 at the end. It's not really how the game went down, which is awesome. So, big win for Notre Dame. They're moving on. Next round, playing Georgia down in Louisiana, Sugar Bowl, all of it, man. Like, I can't wait to jump into this entire thing. And Sean, welcome, my friend. How are things? How you feeling? What are your thoughts, man?
First of all, just a fantastic night. Heck of a night to be a Notre Dame football fan. The pageantry, the history, being the first team to play a game in the college football expanded 12-team playoff. The atmosphere, the broadcast, everything was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed every part about this game. I mean, we can nitpick about certain things, but, you know, at this point, it's win and go.
Win.
Just win and go.
Yep.
You know, I hope everyone – I saw a lot of people, Riley Mills, injuries. I hope everyone gets to rest and can come back, participate in the quarterfinals against Georgia. That's the main concern. Other than that, you're happy with the win. It was a dominant performance.
It was
an outright dominant performance. I'm sure we're going to talk about it on both sides of the ball for different reasons. And I just absolutely love the way Marcus Freeman shaded Signetti at the 50-yard line after the game. It was just like,
you're gonna have to help me out with that one. What happened?
You know how Marcus is very accommodating.
Okay.
When he shakes, and usually a hug, and he kind of just shook hands and was just off to the side, like. And Signetti kept trying to talk, and he was just like, "All right, yeah." Maybe he was just kind of a little upset with the little trash talking during the week, certain things that were said, but. You could tell that this entire team from the top down came out wanting to show that they were the big dogs in the state. You could tell. Yeah. They wanted to show they were the big dogs, and they took the necessary steps to do that. So for me, it was just a night I will not forget as a Notre Dame football fan. And I think a lot of us, have the same sentiment.
Brian, thoughts on the game, big picture, initial thoughts? I mean, let's have it, brother.
I'm pissed. I'm not at all. I'm excited. I mean, this is a big win, right?
This isn't how we talk.
Dude, I was just in the car with you on the way home, and you were fired up. What happened?
Yeah,
I'm a little pissed that my microphone can't keep working. I hate this microphone. That's why I kept going in and out.
I was like, what's going on?
Wouldn't connect to the stupid computer.
Gotcha.
But other than that,
yeah,
it was a good win, guys. I mean, Notre Dame has showed themselves from the start of the game. I can't say they dominated from start to finish, right, which we'll get to later. But it was a dominant performance. I mean, there was never a point in time, Vince, and you and I were outside for the first quarter and a half. And normally we just kind of got there the first series, and the environment was so great. I mean, it just was an electric crowd, which came after a phenomenal tailgate. I mean, we've never had this many people to tailgate. I've met so many people. Was told that I'm mispronouncing a lot of names wrong. So much I found out that, Reza, our guy Reza.
Yeah,
it's Reza.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, got that right. Nicholas Grosh. It's Nicholas Groch. We got him now. And it was great because we got to meet so many people. And, when you talk to people during the tailgate, there's a lot of I think Notre Dame's the better team, but there's still a little bit of that. Yeah. But are they really? Are they going to show it? Are they? And we saw it tonight. I mean, Notre Dame came out and was ready to play against what I believe to be a good football team. I think Indiana in a lot of ways showed themselves to be a good football team tonight. We told you guys coming in that this team was going to battle for 60 minutes. They did. We told you guys that this is a really good defense at Indiana. They showed that tonight. There's a lot of things Notre Dame will have to clean up. Guys, this was another good win, and it was a typical Notre Dame win from what we've seen this season, which is dominant defense, great complementary football, which I know we'll talk about here in a second, Vince. But it just where every phase of the game stepped up and had to do something. And that's what this team has been all year. I mean, it just has, where they're the faster team, they're the more physical team. And Vince, you said something when we were previewing the game, originally, when we first started talking about this matchup. You said, I don't think opponents realize how fast Notre Dame is, especially on defense, and how many times and at the skill positions.
Yep.
How many times this year we've seen defensive players take angles on the quarterback or the running back, thinking they've got the angle down, only to be left in the dust. And the same thing with the Notre Dame defense. You see Indiana doing things tonight where they think, hey, we're going to run these little slides, these screens, we're going to run a reverse, we're going to do this because we're going to be able to get to the perimeter against Notre Dame defense. And it's like, there's a couple times tonight where they ran something outside and you're thinking, does he have an angle on that? And then just boom, Notre Dame player just comes flying down.
Yeah.
And it was a really physical football game between two physical football teams, which I appreciated. But Notre Dame just showed from the start that they're just the better football team. It was a sloppy performance at times, but that's okay because, they shook off some of that rust. When the offense needed the defense to pick them up, they did. When the defense made plays and the offense needed to kind of build on what the defense did, they did. It was just a great all-around team win. We saw Mitch Jeter bang 2 field goals in the game.
First one was massive, by the way.
There's some hiccups here and there, and we're going to have plenty of time to talk about that tonight, Vince. We'll talk about that upon further review. But the reality is Notre Dame got their first ever playoff win, right? They just whooped another Big Ten team. So that's 3-0 against the Big Ten this year, and showed themselves that, hey, we're a legit football team. And obviously, now it's about keep rolling, but they kind of got this little bit of this monkey off their back. And came out and had – it was a very well-prepared Notre Dame football team schematically. It was a Notre Dame team that didn't – I wouldn't say they didn't beat themselves because there was obviously some big mistakes. The early interception was a big mistake, but for the most part, didn't beat themselves. And when they did make mistakes, the other side of the ball picked the other side up. That's what makes this team so much different than a lot of past great Notre Dame teams that didn't win at all. And I don't know if this team's going to win at all. But the one thing that this team does have, guys, is it's one side of the ball doesn't have to carry this football team the way that it is in the past. I mean, Sean, you and I are old enough to remember the 1988 season. Vince is a little bit too young for that. He more remembers the 93 team, right?
Yep.
Which you've talked about. But that team on offense in 1988 wasn't always lights out. But the defense with Cameron, there's a couple times the defense the defense started good against Miami, and then Miami started doing some things, and you needed the offense to answer, and they did. There were times that season where the offense had to step up and get out to a fast start, and then they did that. It was a great team. Notre Dame's had some really good teams with great defenses, or really good teams with really talented offenses, but we've never seen this kind of complementary football. From this football team, from this Notre Dame team in all phases, and it wasn't always pretty, but at this point in time, I think it was Trevor said this when we first or was it maybe it was you, Vince? But I'm so glad that we don't have to care about style points anymore. Exactly. You just need one more point than the other team. If you win the next 4 games by a combined point of 4 points, you're champs. Doesn't matter. Yep. And I know that the score shows a 10-point win, but anyone that watched that game for more than 5 minutes knows that was a beatdown.
Correct.
And I'm happy with it, right? And what do I always say, guys? A coach's dream is to dominate an opponent, but still have a lot of stuff that you need to clean up because that's what helps keep your football team grounded. You could have. It would have been great to watch them go win 44-3. Then you start feeling good about yourselves going into Georgia. I mean, you could see Marcus Freeman said it on ESPN. He's like, look, it's good that this happened because now we've got stuff that we can go back and point to and keep them grounded and keep them hungry and let them know, guys, you have not played your best game yet. Yeah. It's still, we were close. If you do this, you do that, you do that. And that's where you want to be, man. It was a heck of a football game. And overall, a great way to kick off the playoffs this year, just over big picture, guys. Great environment, packed stadium, loud, most storied program in the history of college football. Right? Just great storylines and just a great way to kick off the playoffs overall for all of college football. but especially for Notre Dame because they once again showed that they're that team. The only frustration thing from Vince, you and I we left with about 2 minutes left, right?
Yeah.
We started to pack up when they went up 27-3. And we're walking out to the car and we're listening to the broadcast.
Mm-hmm.
And for 5-10 minutes, all we had to do, well, Indiana wasn't that good. Indiana wasn't that good. They weren't that. And it's like, I told y'all that this was going to be the case. I told y'all that if Notre Dame whips Indiana, it won't be because Notre Dame's really good. It's because Indiana didn't belong. And Vince, I said to you, I'm so sick of the lazy freaking national media. It's like, TCU didn't belong in the playoff. Look how bad they got beat by Georgia. Y'all do realize that was the title game, not the semifinals? They had to beat someone to get to the title game, a.k.a. Michigan, the team that, I don't know, the next year went and won a title. It's so lazy. Like, how about Notre Dame's really freaking good? How about that? Notre Dame's 12-1 right now, guys. 11 of their 12 wins have been by double digits. This is now what, the 6th team that they've beat that was ranked at the time they played, right? 5th or 6th team. Maybe Notre Dame's just really freaking good. And maybe Notre Dame doesn't have to play their A game to dominate people. We saw that tonight. I think they played a C-plus game on offense, a B to B-plus game on defense. B-plus game, I said, they're pretty good on defense. The pass rushes didn't always get home. There were some misses here, misses there, and they still dominated a playoff team. So there's a lot to feel good about Notre Dame fans. And then for the coaches, it's like, okay, let's get better. Let's get better because in 9 days, we got another one. Or that'd be 11 days, 12 days.
12
days, we got another one. And, that's it. Now, the only negative for me is we're going to find out over the next couple of days how costly this win might have been.
Yeah.
And we don't know that yet. We don't know about Riley Mills. We don't know about Bryce Young. We don't know about Rocco Spindler. So we're not going to focus too much on that. We'll talk about that, after Coach Freeman's press conference.
Yeah, because we don't know. Right. So there's no point in speculating.
So, yeah.
But yeah. Brian, I'm with both of you guys. I mean, it was I've been to a lot of Notre Dame games, over the last 20 years, and this was the best environment that I've ever been a part of, that I've ever seen. And that's why we stayed. That's why we stayed out on the balcony for as long as we did, because I was into it, man. Like you and I were about to tackle each other when Jeremiah Love, took that ball and ran 98 yards. Like it, and he ran right into the end zone of where we were standing, basically. Like that was one of the best feelings I've ever had. Right. And the crowd was unbelievable. So for everybody that was worried about the wine and cheese crowd and the whole deal, from everything that I understand and everything I witnessed with my own eyes, people were standing the entire game, and they were loud and they were rambunctious, and they clearly affected the game in a positive way for Notre Dame. And so, I mean, it's the best crowd I've ever seen in Notre Dame. And it was the first time, honestly, in 20 years that stadium was absolutely jam-packed full at kickoff, like jam-packed full. There wasn't a seat to be had. Everybody was in there tight, with their puffy coats on. And also, to add to that, the IU contingent was not what was promised, in my personal opinion.
That one corner there was...
Right, which is their area, and that's fine. They can have that area. But, they were sprinkled in everywhere else. And so Notre Dame did a great job overall of making sure it was Notre Dame fans in the stands, and I appreciated that.
And huge shout out to the Notre Dame student section.
Yeah, man.
Usually the last section to fill into a game. You know what I mean?
They were there.
But not only that, Vince, 10, 15 minutes before the game, the student section was packed.
And they were there like an hour before the game started.
They
were
the majority fired
of them.
up. So shout out to the student section because they're out. They could go home. They were packed.
They kept the dorms open longer
awesome,
so that
dude.
The students could stick around.
But they didn't have to stick around.
Awesome.
Awesome. But man, just a great team win. It was cold though. I mean, y'all can see my nose is still red. Like I look like freaking Frosty. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
But it was awesome.
Great team win, man. Great team win.
And it was outside of the game atmosphere and just being excited about being there and feeling the excitement and the whole deal, right? Look, Notre Dame played. They played a great team game, as you guys said, and we'll get into more of that later. But this is huge. This is Notre Dame's first college football playoff win ever.
Yeah.
Ever. And they got to host it. I mean, it was a historic game for all of those reasons. I'm glad I was able to be a part of it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're sitting here talking about a Notre Dame win, obviously.
Yes.
And this was a game for me where once Jeremiah Love scored that touchdown, okay, I mean, there was still 12 minutes to go in the first quarter, but I no longer worried about where that game was going. I'm being honest. And I'm not part of the team, so I don't have to worry about, certain things and to be all diplomatic and everything. As a fan, after that happened, I was like, let's go. This is going to be a good night for Notre Dame fans. And that's ended up being what it was. So great win for Notre Dame. Super pumped that we're going to see Notre Dame play in 2025. And they're still part of this playoff. And I love the fact, by the way, just a little side note, I love the fact that Notre Dame played on Friday night because we can sit back and relax and just watch football tomorrow and just soak it all in and know that Notre Dame's got a victory in the bag. Like, I'm excited for that.
So can I say this, Sean? I'll give a little insight into some of the conversations that Vince and I had. We talked before, like, dude, I don't know if I'm going to watch a minute of football on Saturday if Notre Dame loses.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I'm going to be so pissed off because they're just better than this football team, And look, and the thing is, like, this is what I tried to say all week, and this is what came to be true. Guys, Indiana's a really good football team. They are. And Notre Dame's just better. And that's what we saw tonight. That defense, that's a really good defense. That's talented wide receivers. They played hard. They never quit. Notre Dame's just better. That's what kind of pissed me off, like the whole they didn't belong here. They shouldn't have been here anyway. Maybe the Big Ten's not. I mean, first of all, we've been telling you all freaking year the Big Ten's not that good.
Exactly.
But Indiana losing to a really good freaking Notre Dame team doesn't mean the Big Ten sucks. The Big Ten already sucked, but Indiana's still a good football team.
Right.
Well, every time they played a good team, every time they played the number 3 team, which Ohio State was for most of the year. I mean, Notre Dame was top 5 team. Ohio State spent most of your top 5 team. So they're not a top 5 team. Indiana's not top 5 team. Still top 12 team. There's a lot of people in the country that would lose to Ohio State and Notre Dame if they had to play those 2 teams this year.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So that's what pissed me off. Can you just give Notre Dame credit for being really freaking good? Oh, wait, you're ESPN. At least the play-by-play guys. Scott Van Pelt, I thought, nailed it. I mean, Vince, you and I listened to it when we were driving home. He nailed it. He's like, yeah, that score wasn't as good. He was actually giving love to Notre Dame, but listening to Sean McDonough, and there's a couple times you thought Greg McElroy's about to start saying something good about Notre Dame, and like he'd get cut off. And somebody in the chat even said that. Yeah, it's like y'all are just trying too hard. Y'all trying too hard to talk this down. This is a good freaking football team that won this football game tonight, and Indiana's a good freaking football team.
Sure.
It's just they're just not as good as Notre Dame. Notre Dame's one of the 3 best teams in the country.
Yeah, and go ahead, Sean.
No, B, you know why that was. We had a conversation a couple of days ago, and I asked you, like, the committee's most pressurized game is Notre Dame in Indiana because they can't allow Indiana. Indiana has to play a good game, and their worst nightmare came to fruition. Like, Notre Dame just dominated. And so the committee's going to be, I think Greg McElroy mentioned it. He said now, strength of schedule might become more of an issue moving forward, whether that's correct or not. And that's not to say that Indiana didn't deserve to be in the game, but it's one of those things that when you have these debates, especially when you're kicking out teams from the bigger conferences and the bigger brands, and you put in smaller brands with Cinderella stories and things like that, which I think the playoff is made for. Right. It's very reminiscent of March Madness. It's made for that. Like, this was like state of Indiana narrative. All the narrative surrounding this game was absolutely amazing. They made tons of money, and I'm sure the ratings were through the roof.
Oh,
all right.
It's the only game in town tonight, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If the game didn't live up to it, then that's a byproduct of the fact that Notre Dame was just better.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Notre Dame's just better.
Right.
And there's no ifs, ands, or buts.
So would that game have looked different if a 9-3 Alabama team that couldn't beat 6-6 Vanderbilt and couldn't beat 6-6 Oklahoma, not only couldn't beat, got dominated by, I mean, they literally never led against Vanderbilt, not for a second, and led for like odd drive against Oklahoma before Oklahoma dominated them. But they're supposed to get in because strength of schedule, which is one of the most biased metrics ever. If you look at strength of schedule rankings, it's always like a bunch of Big Ten and SEC teams, and they just because like a lot of it's built on reputation of your league, preseason rankings, all this other lazy stuff that doesn't actually determine how good your football team is this year. So based on strength of schedule, Alabama would have been in and Alabama would have been better. How do you know Alabama would have been better? Because I watched Alabama play a 6-6 Oklahoma team who's not that good, and they got curb stomped in that game, right? So, but when Alabama goes and gets whooped in a game like this, it would have been like, well, Notre Dame's just, it's a down year for Alabama. That's what this, can we be honest about that? If Notre Dame would have played Bama tonight and beat Bama 27-17, this is a down year for Bama. It's a 4-loss Bama team. Saban's not there anymore. Y'all know that's what it would have been. I tried to tell y'all before the game, and I know y'all believe me. This audience believe me. If Notre Dame, this is why we said it's a lose-lose for Notre Dame, because if you win, you're supposed to win. It's Indiana. They didn't belong here. And if you lose, Notre Dame's not a big-time team, blah, 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 blah. We knew that's what it was going to be. And, keep it up. Just keep talking that talk. Keep talking that talk. Keep giving this football team reasons to be pissed off.
Yep.
Please, I beg you, keep throwing shade at Notre Dame so this team has ammunition to keep being pissed off. Please, I beg you, ESPN, keep exposing yourselves. Please. Rant over.
Well, we've been joined by our man Trevor, who I'm surprised you're still with us, because you were pretty emotional before the game. I can only imagine what it was like for you during the game. Are you in a good place? Can you talk about the game, Trev, and and what you thought about everything?
We'll see how long my voice holds out for, but yeah, for now.
I love it.
For now, I had to come on here and talk about the game, man. What a game, fellas. How about it, huh? That crowd was electric.
Yes, it was.
Oh, my goodness. That was so much fun. It was a good game. I started listening to the postgame when you guys went live when it started. And, Brian, you brought up a good point about people are going to look at the final score and say it was a 10-point game. That was not a 10-point game, man.
No.
That was not a 10-point game. And I had to Google it to make sure it was only just a 10-point game. So,
oh man.
But that was a good game, man. The athleticism took over for Notre Dame early. Jeremiah Love doesn't go on that touchdown run. I said it in the post game or in the pregame show, and I said that Brian put out a stat that's Indiana's number 1 in the country in runs of 10 or more, holding defenses or offenses to that. They're 7th in the country in allowing runs of 20 yards or more, and then they're 50th in the country of runs of 30 or more. So they were a defense that was, if they kept everything in front of them, they were good. The second somebody broke into the second level, they're not catching them. And of all the players that you were not going to catch on that football team, it's 4.
Yeah.
Right? Overall thoughts, just so I can get caught back up with you guys here.
Yep.
I was thinking about this on the drive home. I'm almost happy that this game didn't go perfectly for Notre Dame, because there's still things to work on. One of my fears was if Notre Dame comes out and just plays out of their mind, and there's a lot to, not, if we're breaking down the game, there's not a whole lot left on the bone, right? Where does this team go from here? Notre Dame should have scored significantly more than 27 points tonight. I think we can all agree on that. So, and that's not a slight to, Indiana. Indiana played a hard game, man. That is still a good football team. They're a good defense, and their offense went up against a really good defense. But Notre Dame left a lot of points out on the field, and so I'm almost kind of happy that this was the scenario and how they won, because it's that mindset of, we'll enjoy the holiday, back to the drawing board. We have Georgia, New Year's Day. So, but overall gut reactions, I was so happy with, even the little stuff, man. Leonard gets hit out of bounds late. Whole sideline is there, man. The first people there are the offensive linemen. Help up their guy. The crowd was all electric tonight. I think the Notre Dame fan base kind of took it to heart when people were saying, oh, this crowd isn't all that. It's not that tough of a place to play. The most electric that I've seen this crowd in all the games that I've been to, and I've been to some good ones. So overall for me, man, I'm happy. Tonight was awesome. Tailgate was awesome. It was awesome getting to meet everybody beforehand. But, for me, it's the biggest postseason win that I've seen in my lifetime, and I was there to see it. So I'm a happy guy.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Any more thoughts, big picture, fellas, before we start jumping into this thing? Okay. All
Good
right.
win,
So, hey,
guys.
everybody
Good
hang
win.
out with us. We got much more coming our way or coming your way. But before we do, make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell, share with your family and friends, and of course, jump on the boards.irishbreakdown.com. We're going to have all kinds of stuff on there, obviously for the foreseeable future, because Notre Dame has at least one more game that we're going to be talking about over the next 12 days. And so really looking forward to, that talk and then breakdowns and everything else. So make sure you jump on the boards.irishbreakdown.com. All right, gentlemen, let's jump into the offense and, what they were able to do today. Obviously, IU came into this game with a good defense, with a good to very good defense. I mean, yes, we've talked about their schedule. We've done all of those things. The bottom line for me offensively, I'll kind of go first here. The bottom line for me offensively is, yes, IU is a good football team. Yes, they do a good job of stopping the run. Yes, they do a good job of controlling the line of scrimmage at times and doing those different things in all the games that they played, or most of the games that they played this year. They do all of those things. They tackle well. They're a fundamental team, all of those things. The biggest difference for me, and we talked about this going in and people said we were nuts, was that they haven't seen a team like Notre Dame and what they can do, not only in the trenches, but also from a speed standpoint. They just haven't seen that yet. And Notre Dame exposed that. And, there were multiple times, Brian, when you and I were standing on the balcony out there and we're watching the game and, we're on the 9th floor, so we can see, angles that defensive guys are taking and all these different things. And it was like, okay, this kid thought he had an angle on Jeremiah Love, or this kid thought he had an angle on Jadarian Price, and they just blew right by him. Like that. It's just different. And it hasn't been like that at Notre Dame in the recent history as I'm covering this football team. And that's how it is now. And teams are still, to this day, to this point, underestimating the speed of Notre Dame football, especially on the offense. Well, I shouldn't say especially on the offense. They underestimate it on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
We're talking offense. They underestimate it. And Notre Dame took advantage of that tonight. And that's my biggest takeaway from this game, because it's a top 10 matchup. And they thought that they were going to be able to corral Notre Dame's weapons, and they couldn't do it in the run game. So that's my biggest takeaway, Brian.
Vince, I agree with that. I think the part of it is there's a reason why teams with speed are always so hard to beat, because you can't practice speed. Like, what are the things you can't practice? You can't practice, for conditions. If you're from the South, you can't practice for northern weather. If you're from the North, you can't practice for southern weather, right? I mean, it's just you can't make it 100-degree humidity, and all that stuff like if it is in South Georgia in August or something like that, right? And the other thing is speed, because you don't have scout team backs that can run like Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. I mean, that's the thing is, so like you're used to your body's trained to take this angle to get to a guy. You don't have a way to replicate that. And that's really what it comes down to, is and Notre Dame hasn't had this kind of explosiveness athletically on both sides of the ball. And we saw that tonight, because like, look, if you break this game down, guys, there's a lot of things that run game wise that weren't great tonight. A lot of negatives. There's one point in time, Jeremiah Love had 4 carries for 91 yards with a long of 98.
And the 3 of them were negative.
Right? Exactly. I mean,
3 carries were
he had a 98-yard
yards.
run, and he finished the game with 108 yards on 8 carries, right?
Yes.
I mean, and it was good to see him. He kind of got up limping one play and then came back the next drive. And a lot of that was because, it was Indiana and being good up front. And then, of course, Rocco goes down. That hurt Notre Dame a little bit, I felt, in the second half, because I thought there were some misses up front. They didn't play a super sharp game in the run game, and Indiana was committing a lot of resources to it. And I felt like watching the game, guys, that once Notre Dame went up 14-0, like Mike Denbrock kind of got into you watch the game and you're like, listen, they're not doing anything on our defense. We've already thrown a pick in this game. We're just going to kind of just move the chains, eat up some clock, make sure we're getting points. And that's what we saw in this football game, guys, because it wasn't sexy. You had the one big play at the beginning. You had another big play that kind of one big play set the game up. Another big play kind of put it away with the Riley Leonard pass to Jordan Faison at the end. And your playmaker stepped up and made plays when you needed him to, right? I mean, Jadarian had a big run tonight. Riley had some nice runs and the big-time throw at the end. Jordan Faison has a bad drop early. then makes a couple great grabs on the one screen pass that was low. You know, it's like you just need to like have Jordan throw the ball to him on the first play game so he can drop it.
Yeah, right.
And then he can dominate the rest of the game, right? Isn't that kind of Jordan's MO? Like he drops a pass early in the game and then he just like, okay, now we can go kick butt the rest of the game. You know what I mean? And that was obviously, and I'll talk about receivers in a little bit, but you know, you had guys step up and make plays when they needed to make plays.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt like Mike Denbrock was, hey, we're not gonna do anything risky because we're dominating right now. And we're going to trust our offensive line and we're going to move the chains because – and I felt like that was a big part of it. And when you look at the final statistics, guys, I mean, Notre Dame had the ball for over 35 and a half minutes of this football game. That the second touchdown drive that made it 14-0 took over 9 minutes off the clock. And it's just like, we're not going to do anything to give them a chance to get back in this football game.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever Indiana – like there's the couple key moments in the game for me, guys, were – answering when Indiana got the field goal and then the offense goes down and gets a field goal to end it, right? It wasn't a little sloppy as all that, but they got the job done. And I think another key thing to look at too, guys, is Indiana has a great red zone defense. We talked about that coming into the game. Great red zone defense. And Notre Dame, for the most part, thrived. I think they got 3 red zone touchdowns, right, in this game. So, and then, of course, Indiana had a really good third down defense coming into this game, and Notre Dame had a really bad third down offense coming into this game. And Notre Dame flipped it. You know, I mean, Indiana coming into the game, actually eighth and third down off defense. Notre Dame ranked 87th in third down offense. Notre Dame went 7 of 13 on third down tonight. That was huge because that allowed them to eat the clock up and not let Indiana's offense get into any kind of rhythm at all. And I thought that was a big part of it. I thought Notre Dame's situational football, I was incorrect. Indiana did not have a great red zone defense coming this game. I thought their red zone offense was great, not their red zone defense. But Notre Dame continued being a good red zone offense, put the game away, and just controlled the game. It was a lot like the Louisville game, but even more convincing where you just – once like Vince we were up outside. Vince, when Love bounced and got to he was at like the 15 or 20, and Vince goes, he's gone. Like he just knew they had no chance of getting to him. He just knew. And I felt like at that moment, it's just almost like I breathed a little bit of a sigh of relief. You're like, okay, they're going to be all right.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You want to get that first score. You want to see some domination. And they dominated on that particular play. And that one was a situation where on I think it was either Wednesday or Thursday on the night show. I can't remember which one. They all run together. But we were talking about, somebody asked the question, is this offensive line a dominating offensive line? You know, where are they at? And I just said, look, they're good to very good, but they don't have to be dominant because of the guys that are running with the ball behind them. They just need a crease. You just need to give them a crease, give them a second, and they're going to be gone. And that's exactly what happened. Look, Jeremiah Love didn't get touched on that run, but that hole wasn't open for very long, and it wasn't that wide, but he got through it quick, and he was able to get around the corner. That's what you
really
need to
nice
do.
block by Anthony Knapp on that play, and a great block by Cooper Flanagan on that play to drive the guy out
through and go.
Yeah,
and
that's and you know, Jadarian had the big run. I mean, they were the better team. They were sloppy. They had some drops in the game, 2 third down drops that would have moved the chains.
Yeah.
So as good as they were on third down, it should have been better. Mitchell Evans dropped a third down. Bo Collins dropped a third down. You know, you gotta get those things fixed, obviously. But overall, guys, really good situational football. Answered well. And I thought that answering their own big mistake was huge. Because you have the tip pass by Riley Leonard. It was just a mistake by Riley. Somebody in the chat was like, oh, tips happen. Tips happen. That one wasn't that shouldn't have happened. Because they were just stationary. They weren't moving. They were just there, and he tried to throw it anyway. And you know, that was a mistake. But he didn't compound it. They didn't compound it. Your defense makes a stop. They bail you out. And so what do you do to reward your defense? Let's go 98.
Right.
You know, and that's what good teams do. You're going to make – when you play good teams, Indiana's a good football team. They're going to make plays. That was a smart play by the defensive lineman. He knew he wasn't getting the pressure. So he just stops, looks at the quarterback. Quarterback starts to throw. He puts his hand up, bats it. They pick it off. It's a really good defense. When Notre Dame does that, we say, hey, great defensive play, great heads-up play. And it was, but as a quarterback, you got to not make that play. But what do they do on the next drive? What does Riley do after that? He was good. And I thought a big key tonight, Vince, was I thought the receivers struggled tonight, getting open, getting separation, catching the ball. And Indiana was doing a lot of dropping. I was shocked at how not aggressive they were against the run early. Indiana truly thought, based on their defensive game plan, that they could play their base normal defense and stop Notre Dame's run game.
Yep.
And then it was 14-0 before they realized we might not want to do this. And then they started heating Notre Dame up.
Right. And they were playing two high safeties, the whole first part of the game. They were taking away the deep ball. They played defense against Notre Dame, number one, as if Notre Dame didn't have a very good run game. And number two, as if they had a quarterback that was just going to be testing them deep all the time. Now, here's the difference, though. Once IU started to go to that one high safety, Notre Dame did test them deep. They noticed it, and they went after it, which I do like.
And they beat him on the post route. Jordan Faison's got to do a better job stacking that guy on that go route. Trevor, did you see that? He got outside and stayed outside. And Riley threw the ball. He never stacked him. If he stacks him, that ball hits him right in the hands for a big play. So, you had some things like that. That's what we talk about. There's a lot of missed opportunities out there for Notre Dame offense. Vince, I think you said that in the opener. Or was it Sean? But there's a lot of points out there for Notre Dame offense to get tonight, no doubt. But that's what we said. Vince, Trev, you both have said that over the last 2 weeks. This is what's great about the playoff. Style points are irrelevant at this point.
Doesn't matter, baby.
Freaking football game.
Doesn't matter.
That's it.
Sean, thoughts on the offense, my man?
Well, offensively, I just think, like you said, a lot of points. But at the end of the day, it's about win and advance, right? I do think it was beautiful to see Riley Leonard getting the game going. And I think I listened to Trevor and Brian during the week, and they talked about and emphasized about one of these wide receivers needing to step up. But who was it going to be? And after that first drop, who knew that it would be Jordan Faison, right?
Oh, I think we all knew, because that's what, when he drops the ball early, Jordan's about to go off. That's what he does.
Yeah. But I think one of the things that, I was confident about going into this game, even though Indiana was a high-scoring offense over the regular season, the two games where they struggled, they were not able to dictate. And that's you have to be able to dictate games. We hear people say styles make fights. Yeah, but you have to have something that dictates in that fight if you're going to be able to win. And so Notre Dame's style offensively is multiple. Their style defensively is multiple. Their style as a team is multiple. They just have so many players and so many ways to win games. And that is what ultimately will make them a dangerous opponent for whomever they face throughout this tournament. And speaking offensively, look, I think, Brian, we were talking during the week, and I said, Indiana has a really good defense. And I said, they probably would do a good job 70% of the time. I said, but that 30% of the time, with the running backs that Notre Dame has, big plays are right there. Jadarian Price was one broken tackle from breaking one, a couple of times.
Yeah.
So, and that was the problem. And that's where the speed comes into play, because you realize, like you said, oh man, we've been going against these scout team guys all year. We've never seen anything like this. Right. And we've never had an offensive line lean on us like this. You start to see that on that final drive. Notre Dame was just coming downhill. Now they're just coming downhill. They're getting pushed, and then they pop them with the big pass over the top. And it was almost like at that point, Denbrock could just go to whatever he wanted to go to, because he really had the advantage. So offensively, I think there's a little bit to be desired from an execution standpoint moving forward, right? I don't think they really showed a lot that Georgia can hone in on to say, man, we know exactly what they're going to do. There's a lot of meat on that bone offensively. And now we just wait to see, Rocco, how's he doing? How's the offensive line look if he can't go? Things of that nature. But one of the biggest things is Riley and his performance. He threw the ball, 39 times? I would have definitely taken the under. If I walked to the window and you said the over, the prop bet is 30 attempts from Riley Leonard in this game, I probably would have said I'm taking the under. And for him, like you said, with the drops, the way he played, going up over 200 yards. And he is literally, I don't know if you guys agree, I think he's the only quarterback that does not have to pass for over 200 yards for his team to win. He doesn't have to. He can.
He did tonight.
He did
Yeah,
tonight.
he did tonight.
But if he had passed for 150, they still would have dominated this game. It is that's what I'm talking about. The Notre Dame, their physical run game is like the jab, right? They're just their playmakers, Faison and Love. And now those are the haymakers that hit you out of nowhere. Like, can you recover? And they just have everything, man. From a boxing standpoint analogy, they have everything offensively to really attack you. We really haven't seen them put it all together yet. If they ever put it all together offensively, which, we're hoping they do in the quarterfinals, or at least give us a better effort. Yeah, this team is going to be pretty dangerous offensively.
Before we kick it to Trev, can I just give a statistic here real quick, just to back something up here real fast? You guys know we love to do this. This will lead into Trev. This Indiana defense coming in tonight was giving up 70.8 yards per game. Somebody in the chat is like, well, what happens when they play a team that can stop the run? Well, they've played several teams that are really good at stopping the run, and they can't stop the freaking run when they play Notre Dame, But, guys, this isn't a fluke. James Madison in 2023 only gave up 83.8 rushing yards per game, 2.6 per carry. In 2022, James Madison gave up 80.2 yards per game rushing and 2.5 yards per carry. Same defensive coordinator. This is what they do. This is what their entire defense is geared to stop. And just didn't matter.
Trevor, offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looked like an offense that hasn't played a football game in 3 weeks. I mean, like, that's just the athletes took over. I mean, it looked very similar to me, offensively, it kind of looked like the Georgia Tech game. There was some really good, there was some sloppy, but at the end of the day, Notre Dame was just a better team. And it was evident. Like I said, I mean, IU is a good football team, and I've been very adamant about that over the past couple weeks. But I've also said that this playoff, in round one, you separate the good teams from the great teams. And then round two, you separate the great teams from the elite teams. And then so on and so forth, right? You guys get the picture. And that's how it was. You know what I mean? Like, that's IU is a good team. You don't make the playoffs unless you're a good team. But that's what they are. And they lost to a great football team tonight. And how I know they're a great football team is they were still able to battle adversity and answer for their mistakes or mistakes that they allowed. Indiana made plays of their own, right? And they were able to battle back, and they didn't execute at a high level, in my opinion. Like it was a good game overall. Like, it wasn't awful, but it wasn't anything spectacular. I'm not walking away from the Notre Dame versus IU game saying, man, if this offense executes like that throughout the rest of the playoffs, look out. Look out, America. This team is going to be one to stop with their level of execution tonight. And so, it leaves a lot to be desired, in my opinion, from an execution standpoint, which I think is promising now that they're going from having a almost 30-day break to now like a 9-10 day break, So overall with the offense, I think it's just their horses just started to outrun Indiana's horses, and me and a buddy talk about this all the time with different tiers of football teams. There's levels to everything. And tonight, like, Notre Dame showed what theirs was, and that's not to knock Indiana in any way at all. It's just, when you're a really good team, you're a really good team. It's the same thing in years when Notre Dame lost these kind of games in the postseason.
Sure.
If Notre Dame lost in the postseason, that didn't make Notre Dame a bad football team. They just lost to a better football team, and so overall for me, for the offense, I know we're going to dive into position groups specifically. I thought Riley Leonard played one of his most poised games of the season, despite the really early interception. Jeremiah Love did Jeremiah Love things. And I would even make the argument that his most impressive run of the night was not a 98-yard touchdown run. So, the receivers, Jordan Faison is the first wide receiver for Notre Dame this season to have over 5 receptions in a game. And they did it all without Jadarian Price really doing a whole lot. They did it without Mitchell Evans doing a whole lot. They did it. Jaden Greathouse had a really good third down catch that I'm amazed was caught. But
did you see Riley Leonard run up to him and give him a hug after that too, which I thought was hilarious. Like that was he
put gas.
He put some sauce on that one. Yes, he did. Yeah, that was great. That was a great catch, great throw, great catch. I mean, he fitted into a very small window, and Greathouse made a great third down catch.
There was one spot you could have put that football.
Yep,
literally one. And I mean, I thought the offensive line. I think the receivers' lack of getting open downfield, I think, made the offensive line look like they performed worse than they did, in my opinion. I don't think it was a great game for them by any means, but I was in the stands and it was a lot of the O-line is sucking tonight and all this stuff. It's like, hey, listen, like Riley Leonard has had 4 seconds sometimes to throw this football.
At times, yeah.
So,
Trev, I thought early on Notre Dame had more time to throw than later. I think once Notre Dame jumped up 14-0, Indiana kind of realized, like, we got to do something. We got to go make a play on defense. We've got them up, and they heated them up bad, and Notre Dame didn't have an answer for it, really. But even then, I mean, the play where he had the touchdown pass, he had time. He just had to, step up and make the throw. So you were giving it to him at times. But my frustration with the game tonight is the receivers played with zero urgency tonight. I mean, coming off the line slow, say, well, they are slow. No, they're not, because when I watch them come off fast at times and then slow at other times, it's a lack of urgency. The third down ball that Bo Collins drops, it took like 4 steps to get out of his break. It was a super choppy route, no urgency. Ball's right where it needs to be. The guy's playing behind him. You can't throw the ball at an upper chest level because then his hand is right there. You got to throw that ball down by his thighs, and he's got to go down and get it. That's right where that ball needs to be. Now, any quarterback coach in the country is going to tell your quarterback, when that DB is playing him that way, you put that ball down at his thighs and in front of him. Bo's got to know he's just got to make that catch. Mitchell Evans has got to make that catch. You can't be wide open. Wide open can't be the only ingredient to making a catch in this level. You're going to have to play better. You're going to have to play with more urgency. And that was frustrating. And, of course, late in the game, they did make some plays. I mean, Bo Collins had a great third down conversion, caught the ball 2 yards short of the sticks, Vincent, you said if he cuts in, he's done. He kind of jabbed in, goes out. That was big. Jordan Faison had a great off the turf catch, and then he did a great job of making the other catch that they reviewed that he clearly caught. Yeah, that throw that was not an easy catch by Jaden Greathouse in the slot. Like, that was a tough catch. I mean, so they did some things, but this unit is going to have to go back to the drawing board a little bit with this receiving core these next 12 days and say, guys, this isn't acceptable. This tempo in which you're coming off the line attacking defenses is not acceptable. You are faster than this. We know you're faster than this. And then my one criticism to Mike Denbrock is, listen, man, when you throw to your slot receivers, good things happen. Throw to them more. Do more to get them the football, because Jaden Greathouse needs to be targeted more than he was targeted tonight. Jaden Harrison wasn't targeted once. We talked about this during the show, me and Trev. It's like when they're targeted, it's like almost an 80% completion rate between the two of them. And so you're going to have to figure out those guys more. And I know he didn't put up good numbers, but Chris Mitchell stepped up with a couple clutch grabs tonight and had some nice plays there as well. So I was happy to see that. But, I just think overall that was my frustrating thing, Trev. But I also thought that the offensive line, they didn't have a great answer. But, again, part of it, too, is you lost your starting right guard at halftime. He's in street clothes the second half. I don't know if Coach Freeman, Sean, did you listen to the post-game press conference? Did he say what was wrong with Rocco? What did he say what happened?
No, he didn't mention anything. Okay. He did mention that Riley's good.
Okay.
We just have to get him ready for the next game.
Okay. But, I was hoping that was a precaution with the way I was kind of watching him on the sideline, and he was kind of jumping around a little bit. He didn't have his helmet in his hands, but he wasn't sitting on the bench. They didn't put him in street clothes. I was like, okay, maybe this is just a precaution because of the way the game is going right now. I mean, he got hurt on a sack, that he had. So happy to hear that for sure.
And I want to push back on something that I've seen multiple times in the chat about, well, that ball shouldn't have been thrown there. Guys, y'all know that quarterbacks are not taught to throw to the guy's chest every time. because sometimes thrown to the chest is the worst place to throw it. That ball to Mitchell Evans is right where it needed to be.
Yes.
The ball that Jordan Faison had to go down to get, he's getting hit as he's throwing it. The ball to Bo Collins that he dropped, that's right where that ball needs to be. Again, if a guy's coming across with his hand and he's trying to play over in front of the receiver and you throw it to the chest, you're throwing it right to where he can get his hand. That ball's got to go low and away. Every ball's not meant to be right in the chest. You got to throw the ball open. Was he perfect every time? No, but there was a lot more. That's a good throw when he had time. And some of the worst throws he had all night, to be honest with you, were checkdowns because he's getting hit. He's dumping it off. But I thought, and Vince, you said this to me, and I want you to talk about this. But Vince looked over me and goes, he's taking a lot of checkdowns tonight, but it's the right decision because there's all this space for his running backs to get the football. Because we talk about, you look at the statistics and you say, hey, listen, Jeremiah Love had 108 yards on 8 carries. So that means he had 98 on 1, and his other 7 carries, he only got 10 yards. Jadarian only had 32 yards on 11 carries. Most efficient runner all night was Aeneas Williams. But Jeremiah Love had 2 catches for 18 yards. Aeneas Williams had 4 catches for 15 yards. Jadarian had 1 catch for 8 yards. So that's another, 33, 41 yards on 7 touches for the running backs that were moving the chains, that were turning 1st and 10s into 2nd and 6.
Yep,
instead of, and I thought that was smart, Vince, and I thought you nailed that when you made that note in the press box about how it was like it kept the chain moving. And that, Vince, I thought played a big role in why they were so good on 3rd down, because a lot of those were happening as they were 1st and 2nd down.
Yep, and you had third manageables, 3rd and shorts, 3rd and manageables, and that was. We always used to make fun of Ian Book, for example, calling him Captain Checkdown and all of those different things, right? There's a difference between always going to the checkdown when you've got open guys deep and going to the checkdown because IU is playing 2 high safeties and they were worried about the pass game. They, based on the way they were playing their defense, they were worried about the pass game. Yeah. And so those checkdowns were open. And the guys that were getting the ball in those checkdowns, Aeneas Williams, Jeremiah Love, I want the ball in their hands. I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? And so they were the right reads. And I thought Riley did a fantastic job of getting the ball to those guys under pressure. Yeah. Because there were some points where he was on his back foot. He was falling back. He was getting hit. He made some plays on those checkdowns. Look, Riley Leonard had a 73% completion percentage. Yeah, there was a lot of checkdowns there, but they were moving the chains. And that's important, right? It wasn't a situation where he's sitting in the pocket and he's not looking downfield because there's guys open and just throwing to a short guy. That wasn't the case at all.
They were late checkdowns, to your point.
Yes. He was going through his reads and his progressions, and it took him to the checkdowns. Or it was a hot read because he had a guy in his face. Yeah. And he was able to make those plays. So there is a fine. You have to understand football, and I know everybody in our chat does because they listen to us and they're all knowledgeable football fans. There's a difference between being captain check down and checking down because that's where your reads take you.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that's very clear because I'm not just going to praise a guy for checking down. When we were given a hard time to another guy for doing it. There's a difference. Mm-hmm. And in this case, it worked out very, very well because they kept moving the chains and kept kept drives alive.
Yeah. I want to say something too, is that go ball to Jordan Faison. Again, it's another example of if the receiver plays that properly with his route technique, that's a catchable ball.
Yep.
And of course there's going to be throws that Riley Leonard needs to do a better job of. That's true for every quarterback in every game. But some of the stuff tonight, and I've been a defender of receivers in the past when they didn't play well. Or when people didn't think they played well, I'm guys, if you were in the stadium that night, you saw they were getting a lot open, a lot more quarterback. Tonight was not that. And there's been games this year where receivers were getting open and Riley wasn't getting the football. Tonight was not that. I thought they struggled tonight and they didn't play with any urgency. That's probably my biggest criticism of the game, along with there were times when Indiana brought heat that, and honestly, again, we'll talk about again, if number 13 is not your quarterback, some of those are sacks.
My gosh, yes. 100%.
That's just a fact.
Because look, you put a less mobile guy, then you get kind of what happened to Curtis Rourke. Right. There were some times where I leaned over to you at one point. It was early on in the 3rd quarter, and they ran a read option, and he kept the ball. The read told him to keep the ball. It's okay, if that's what IU is running, and they're counting on Curtis Rourke to get some positive yards running the football, they're deep in the bag and they don't know what to do. Like that's where they're at offensively. That's what you get when you get a non-mobile quarterback.
Can I ask you guys a question? And I want to get all your thoughts on this because Vince, you've said this a couple times. You said that Indiana played like they were afraid of Notre, or they were not afraid of. They were preparing for trying to stop Notre Dame from throwing the ball down the field.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it was that? Or do you think that Indiana genuinely thought they could come into this game and play with their box and shut down the run?
The second one.
Like they've done to everybody else, including Ohio State.
It's absolutely the second one. They thought that their guys were going to be able to compete with Notre Dame's offense and shut them down with their base.
And then the safeties could play protect.
And they could protect it. That's exactly right. There were 6 in the box most of the time. 4 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and they weren't really bringing anything. And Notre Dame took advantage of it in the run game. And I do truly think this was a misread by IU from a defensive standpoint. Yeah. It was a misread. They thought that they were going to be able to contain Notre Dame on the edge, and that they were going to contain Notre Dame when they wanted to run up the middle and all of those different things. They knew Notre Dame had a good run game, but they thought their defense was better. They're the number 1 run defense in the country, and there's a reason. And so they thought that they could do what they do. And it was a misjudge. They misjudged it, in my opinion. That was a misjudge by the coaching staff. And that when we talk about big picture stuff, we talk about how, one team outcoached another team. Notre Dame outcoached IU in this regard. I mean, IU underestimated what Notre Dame was going to be able to do offensively, and they paid for it.
You guys, Sean, you thoughts on that?
When I look at it, it reminded me, I think someone said this in the chat as well. I remember when Notre Dame, and I won't mention, the coaching staff, but, we all have memories of Notre Dame, going into playoff games. And you just felt like this had to happen. If A, B, and C happens, not Notre Dame is going to win. If A, B, and C happens, we got a chance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it seems like that's how Signetti and his staff coached tonight. Like, okay, if this happens and this happens and this happens, then we got a chance because we want to keep it close and take it to the fourth quarter and steal this one. So it was now it comes across as a lot of false bravado, right? Like you're going out there, you're on game day, 45 minutes before the game, and talking crazy. We don't just beat top 25 teams. We beat the hell out of top 25 teams. And it's like, okay, bro, you don't have
and followed up with Nebraska's number 5 in the coaches. Yeah. Bro, when you got to go there, it's kind of like, you're
not making the point you think you are. Like,
no, the film doesn't lie. They knew what they were going up against from a film standpoint. And if they really believed, I don't think that they believed they could do it. They thought that was the best chance for them to be able to affect Notre Dame. And I kind of, because to go ahead and put 8 in the box, we've seen Notre Dame run against that. Like we've seen Notre Dame run against 6-man box. We've seen them run against 7-man box. We've seen them run against 8-man box.
Dude, Aeneas Williams almost broke one against an 8-man box.
Against an 8-man box tonight. Yep. Absolutely. Yep. So, you pick your poison. And they chose the poison of 6-man in the box, keep the safeties back to eliminate the big plays and make them matriculate their way down the field. But Notre Dame, like I said, they can have the jab, they have the left hook, they have the straight right. I mean, they can just hit you with everything. Here's Jeremiah Love, big play. Oh, by the way, we can go 15 plays, 80-some yards, take 9 minutes off the clock. And Notre Dame can just hit you so many different ways. So I'm going to show a little empathy towards that coaching staff because I really think being in the position they were, and we know Notre Dame, those teams of the past, from a talent standpoint, they weren't good enough to beat that Clemson team in the semifinals. They needed, once the fumble gets overturned, if we had gotten that early.
I actually think they weren't good enough to beat Clemson. I just don't think they were. Here's a great comment, and Trev, I'll get to you in a second. Alakino nailed tonight. I thought the defensive coordinator for Indiana did a pretty nice job preparing his team. I think the mistake he made is like Vince said, is like he thought they could do what they've been doing against Notre Dame. And you can't do that when the other team's better than you are. Alakino nailed it, and he's speaking right to what you're saying, Sean. He said Signetti coached the game like BK.
Yeah.
down 17-3, 23, and you're punting late in the third quarter near mid. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, you were trying to just not get blown out. Like that's how he coached tonight. And I thought that was more so than the coordinators. Because like once Notre Dame jumped up on him, the coordinator started heating Notre Dame up. That's not a guy that, you know what I mean, Sean? But like I think when your cocky coach who gets on national TV talking about we beat the S out of ranked teams, I'm like, bro, 25 ain't this. You know, Nebraska ain't this.
Yeah.
You know, that was the first time that I'd listened to Curt Cignetti and thought, that's not genuine. That's not real. Like, that's not genuine. You're trying to convince yourself of something. And you don't beat when you're down 20-3 and you're punting in the late third quarter, you're not beating the S out. You just got punked. Marcus Freeman broke you tonight. You know what I mean?
His response on that was absolutely amazing. And it goes to what you said. He said, I went to it because my defense was playing better. They were the better unit. That's why I punted. I played towards the unit that was playing better.
Down 20-3, bro.
20-3. Like, what are you talking? Exactly. It's like, at that point, you have no sense of urgency, no aggression, and then you have nothing to give. You have to give your team belief. You have to give your offense belief that,
You know you lost, and you trust your defense to make sure you don't get blown out.
Yeah. But to go back, like, to my point, Brian Kelly, if you believe that team was talented enough, I would push back with once Julian Love got hurt, that they weren't as deep as Clemson.
Yeah.
Clemson was playing with a backup D tackle.
And Dante was already hurt. Yeah.
Dante's hurt. And then all of a sudden, so it's like once the things that needed to happen didn't happen, you saw the game go the way that it went. And for me, Curt Cignetti, after that first touchdown, he knew that was the moment. You get the turnover, you don't capitalize, and then bam, you're down 7. And it's like, darn. You know what I'm saying? It starts to sink in like, yo, this is not going the way. And I think offensively, then they start searching for things, like searching for different packages they could go to. And it took them a while to say, man, let's go to the short passing game. And it worked for a little bit, but then Notre Dame would suffocate that as well. So it really didn't matter what they went to from a coaching standpoint. They just didn't have the horses. Like, you have to have the horses. And when you recognize as a coach, man, I just don't have the guys. My guys are out here fighting their tails off. They're busting their tails. They're doing everything we're asking them to do, but they're just not good enough. As the coach, I can't tell them you're just not good enough, but that's the truth of the matter. And I think he was kind of resigned to that fact early on in the game. But I would like to see, even if you know that early in the game, you still have to coach. You still have to coach your guys. You still have to lead those guys. And I think he missed the mark in a couple of examples, in making decisions. Because inside Notre Dame territory on 4th down, he decides to punt twice. And then he went for the field goal. After Marcus Freeman, he laughed because Marcus Freeman, they go to that formation, right? They go to the formation, and then they make them waste the timeout. And then they call the timeout when they're trying to decide if they're going for it on 4th down. Marcus Freeman was in his head. Yes. He was just really in his head.
Oh, yeah.
And then they bring the special teams out. And I'm like, yo, what are you doing? But you don't recognize that you need to get 7 right here. And then Notre Dame goes and gets the field goal back at the end of the half. And that was huge.
That was massive.
Yeah, he missed moments as a coach to make an impact on the game for his team. He failed his team in those areas on multiple occasions tonight.
All right, Trevor, you've been waiting in the wings, baby, very patiently, and I appreciate it. What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, to Brian's question about what we think the defense did for Indiana, I'm going to go a little different route. I think they out-schemed themselves. I do. Like, I think they were thinking that Notre Dame was going to anticipate them loading up the box. So I don't know if they just went with a lighter box look and thought that was going to shake them up. And I think they were just assuming that Notre Dame was game planning for Indiana stacking the box, because I understand Curt Cignetti he's a cocky coach, but I don't think he's stupid. And that's stupid. Let's just call a spade here. How do you look at the best rushing team on paper and on film and personnel that you faced all year, and you say to yourself, I think we're so good that we're just not going to try to load the box to stop the run. Now, maybe he was blinded by that, which would it shock me? No. But to me, my read on it is I think he out-schemed himself. Like I do. Like I think he was banking on the fact that Notre Dame and Mike Denbrock were planning on running against an 8-man box all night. So
Trev, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yesterday in the to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. Yesterday we talked about the possibility. Don't be shocked if Mike Denbrock comes out early and stone the ball around if they're loading the box. Do you think they kind of thought? Is that what you're saying? Like you think that they thought that Mike Denbrock was going to come out and throw the ball, and they were preparing for it?
I think.
But here I agree. I do think this. That's a great point, Trevor. It's a great observation, but I also think you don't do that if you don't think you can stop the run game with your box. That's a good. That's a good observation. That's a good observation. So that's why you're playing more two safety. Yeah, because they show two safety a lot, but they rob and roll.
They didn't do that at all.
They weren't doing that early on. They did that after Notre Dame jumped up 14-0, but they weren't doing that early in the game.
They weren't doing it at all early, and that was like I said, it was a miscalculation by IU. That's the best thing I can come up with. I just think they have that coaching staff has lived in a world of always being the better team, right? That steps onto the field, whether they were at James Madison or whether they were at IU. You know, they 9 times out of 10, or even more of a percentage than that, they're the best team, and so they feel like, you know, hey, we got our guys. We're going to do our thing, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. Like, I do think that's part of it. I mean, they had a mentality, and I'm not even mad about it. Like, if you have a mentality that you're the best, or, you know, that you guys are going to be able to do whatever you want to do. Like, I respect that to a degree, but you also have to be able to watch the film, and you have to be realistic as well. And I think they were a bit blinded from realism in this particular matchup. And I think they were a little bit against Ohio State too, to be perfectly honest with you. And I don't think they learned that lesson by playing Ohio State. They fixed some of their special teams, and they fixed the silent count, and they did all these different things. But I still think that they thought they're the best team on the field, and they don't have to do anything schematically to adjust. And it bit them.
That's funny you mentioned that, Vince, because sometimes that false bravado can get you. You can leave a game and you can say, you know what? If we don't have the special team snafu and we don't do these two things, we were right there.
Yes, I think they were convinced
we're just as good as them.
Yes, they were convinced about that against Ohio State.
You're not being honest because your offensive line for 2.5 quarters got dominated.
Right.
Just dominated, right? And so now you have a false perception. You're like, if we just fix these things, then we should be able to do the same thing against Notre Dame. And now you're not really being honest with yourself about who your team is, right? And they lose one of their best interior offensive linemen against Purdue, which makes it even more difficult now going into the game. And so I just think he wasn't honest about what he saw. And maybe in doing that, maybe he was trying to give confidence to his team. Maybe that's why he was talking the way he was talking, to kind of take things away from his team and give confidence to his team. There is no way.
I think you're right. No, I don't think you. If you're giving confidence for your team, you say one thing and scheme a different way.
Yes,
right. Yes. So I think your point is on. I think that they misread who they're playing.
Yeah,
like a lot of teams have done. I think there's too many coaches that buy the narratives about Notre Dame that are out there that were relevant for 20 years that are just not relevant anymore.
Correct.
They're not fast. They don't play anybody. They're not explosive. They're not this. They're not that. And Sean, so I like, because again, we see this all the time. Coaches say one thing and then they coach a different way because they're going to say one thing to give their team confidence, but then they coach in a way that shows that, guys, we know what we're up against. You know what I mean? So I think your first point was correct. They didn't understand what they were facing. And that goes back to what Vince said at the beginning is this is yet another team that doesn't understand how fast this football team is. Yet another one that is just Notre Dame's either the luckiest team on the planet, or maybe people just aren't seeing what's there. I think your first comment was spot on, Sean. I think they misevaluated what they were facing. They thought they could come out, and I think, Trevor, I got a lot of comments today from people tailgate. Oh, you did a great job with that Trevor hire. And I think it's observations like that I think are spot on. I think that they thought, hey, look, we are trying to, we're going to anticipate what they're going to try to do to us, right? And we think they're going to come out because we're giving up 70 yards a game. We've literally shut down everybody we've played this year running the football, right? And most yards we've given up all year is 137 yards to Charlotte. The next most yards we've given up all year is 116, right? We've only given up over 4 yards a carry twice all year, and that was 4.2 and 4.2. And they ain't facing anybody because we ain't Army. You know what I mean? And so I think they believed that.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they played the box the way they did, while also saying, we know that they can't run on us. And so we're going to protect it with how we're going to do coverage-wise, like Trevor was talking about. I think that's a big part of it, because they didn't think that Notre Dame was going to do what they do best, because they can't do what they do best against us. So they're going to come out and throw the ball around, which isn't a terrible thought. We said it in the show. Don't be surprised if Notre Dame tries to reverse engineer the offense a little bit. But by doing that, they basically told Notre Dame, dare you to run the football.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't run on us. And the thing is, in a lot of times, Indiana did a pretty good job shutting the run game down.
Sure.
Notre Dame's not a team that gives up a lot of negatives, guys. They give up a lot of negatives tonight. But that's the whole point with this group, guys. We talked about this, Trev. We talked about this when A&M. A&M did a good job on 95% of the snaps against Notre Dame's rushing game. But it's that 5% that gets you beat.
Mm-hmm.
And Indiana tonight did a great job on 95% of the runs that Notre Dame ran tonight. But that 5% goes for 98, goes for 20, moves the ball on third down. And that's what makes this team so difficult. And I still don't think Vince, I think you guys have all made some phenomenal points tonight about this. But it circles back to, Vince, what you said at the very beginning, is there's just a lot of teams that I don't think understand just how athletic this team is until they face it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a feeling George is going to do the same thing.
Oh, I guarantee it.
Which is crazy. I mean, you have now a 13-game sample size of this team. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what's weird. You have a 13-game sample size of this team with every single coach afterwards in their post game talking about, this is a good football team. They are fast. They're a physical football team. And for whatever reason, every coach week in and week out opposing, he's like, they're not going to do that to us. It's like, well, at the end of the day, I mean, that is crazy. But going into a game plan, daring Notre Dame to run is hilarious.
Oh my gosh, no kidding.
That is like if you look at that in a vacuum, if that truly was what they said, because they held Charlotte to 137 yards and that was there. But yeah, bring on Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price and Riley Leonard and Aeneas Williams. Kedron Young got in the game tonight. That was exciting.
That was a great lead block. I'll give him that.
Awesome.
Yes. Yeah.
That was awesome.
100%. All right, fellas, let's we've done actually a really, normally we'll go through and we'll talk about each position. I think we've done a pretty good job of hitting the position groups offensively already, so I don't want to beat that horse anymore. So let's give out some game balls offensively. And Trevor, since you were so patient, I'm going to reward you with the first go at offensive game balls. So Trevor, who gets your offensive game balls?
I'm going to stick with the guy that I had in my prediction and go with Jeremiah Love.
Okay.
That was my guy on Thursday. And yeah, obviously the 98-yard touchdown run was electric. And that's what kind of changed the game. You know what I mean? And it was early on. Notre Dame needed the spark. And my prediction was for the game ball, it's like, hey, playoffs, you need your dudes to be dudes. And I don't really know if you can have much more of a I'm the dude moment than going untouched for 98 yards and outrunning an entire defense. But outside of that, I mean, he did run hard tonight. This is a good IU run defense. It is. And the stiff arm he had was,
that was soul crushing.
That was,
I mean, he stole his soul.
I was about to say, man, that's that was the most impressive run of the night for Jeremiah Love for me, because I thought he was, again, he bounced it to the outside. And I'm not going to lie, IU's defense kind of showed me their rush defense, sideline to sideline, was a little bit faster than I thought they were. I'll be honest. I'll admit that. I mean, because after the 98-yard touchdown, I was like, oh, if Jeremiah Love gets the edge, he's gone. And I think he started to think that a little bit too.
Sure.
And when he would go and break to the edge, he was getting caught a little bit. Like he had the one hurdle in the backfield for like a 5-yard loss. But that stiff arm was that was nuts. So game ball on offense for me goes to Jeremiah Love.
Sean, you're up, brother.
Jordan Faison. Absolutely. Game ball for me. A play we didn't even mention. Once again, that special teams reverse out of the halftime on the kickoff was absolutely amazing. It was like one tackle away from breaking that for 6. I think he ended up with over, I think it was 89 yards. Did he end up with receiving?
Let's see here. He had 89 yards, 7 catches, 89 yards. Yep. 89
yards receiving with the big play to kind of seal the deal. And multiple times with third down receptions, yards after catch. Really good game. And he's and I love the fact that they had him speak to the team about winning a championship, during the week. I thought that was really dope. And for him to be the guy that shows up after that shows that, you need your dogs, your playmakers to step up. And that's exactly what Marcus Freeman called them in the post game, was a playmaker. So hopefully he continues to make plays for the next 3 games.
Brian?
Faison's a good one. I got no issue with it being Jeremiah Love. 98-yard run kind of broke their backs a little bit, but I'm going with Riley Leonard. The early interception was, again, that's on him. We talked about it already. We talked about it at the beginning. You've got to see the defense is not coming at you anymore. You can't throw through the guy, right? You make that mistake. I thought after that, he did a good job. And it's a lot of different things that, obviously you got the big throw at the end to put it away. And he has he has the really nice, great touch over the top to Jaden Thomas, who has just been the best team player you're going to have.
My gosh.
Just does whatever you ask him to do. And he does it with passion and like, coach, you just want me to run a bunch of 5-yard routes, man. I'm going to do it as well as anybody playing. You know what I mean? I just love that kid. But it's a lot of things where, guys, when you and I break this down and do our upon further review, and I'm sure Trevor and Sean are going to feel the same when they break this game down, he saved a lot of yards tonight where he's about to get sacked. He spins out, he gets outside, throws the ball away, or he scrambles and hits the check downs as he's getting drilled. And he did a lot to keep this offense moving. This is one of his best third down throwing games of the season and should have been even better if not for a couple drops. And when Vince, you said it, like whenever they would go, the few times they would go single high late in the game, he would take shots. Like I said, I thought Faison misplayed that go right.
He was reading them out. He was reading them out, man. Yeah.
And he threw a great ball to Faison, hit him right perfectly in shroud on the post route. But it was really the saving yards to me, even on that long drive where 97% of college quarterbacks, you take away like him and maybe like a Kevin Jennings and a couple guys like that, a Cam Ward at times, outside of a few, Jalen Milroe at times, outside of a small handful of quarterbacks, there's probably 8-9 sacks tonight against the Notre Dame quarterback.
Yeah, that's fair.
And there's a lot of times where, he was checking the ball down as he's getting drilled in games where other quarterbacks might have been throwing the ball in the ground or throwing it away. It was that kind of stuff, guys, that allowed Notre Dame to be a team that had the ball for over 35 minutes and went 7 for 13 on third down. So that's why I'm going. I mean, other guys made bigger plays, but Jeremiah Love had the one great run and then the great stiff arm. Outside of that, he didn't do a whole lot. Part of that's because Indiana's game plan was when 4 was in the game, they're bringing everybody. And Riley did a lot of good things tonight. I think this was more so a great team effort on offense. So I don't know if there's one player head and shoulders above for an entire game, but I just felt like the quarterback just kept doing what he needed to do to get the ball where it needed to go to, hitting Jaden Greathouse on that one. Was that third down? That throw, he hit the Greathouse.
Yes.
Third down, right?
Yes, it was a third down.
Huge moment.
Yeah, that's why Leonard gave him a hug.
Yeah.
He's like,
and avoided the mistakes after the pick.
Sure.
Didn't go into a shell. Didn't go to, I'm afraid to throw the ball down the field now. But protected the ball, and I thought did some really nice things tonight. So in a night where there was multiple stars, Greathouse stepped up in that one big catch. Faison had a heck of a night after the drop. mean, everybody had negatives tonight too, right? I mean, Jeremiah had some missed reads. I thought Jeremiah went big game hunting a little bit tonight, more than he probably should have. Instead of just like, because what we've been praising for all year, like just if all you can get is 2, get 2. I thought there's a couple times tonight Jeremiah was trying to get 50 when all he could get was 2. You know what I mean? And it happens and that's part of me. But like the 98-yard touchdown happened because he just trusted the blocking and followed the blocking, and then he was a stud. You know, but I just thought the guy that really kind of just kept it all going, kept it all moving, just kept it all kind of, hey guys, we're going to be okay. Was Riley Leonard, in my opinion. So I'm giving him the game ball tonight.
Look, you guys picked the 3 guys that I would have, had as finalists for game balls, and so I'm not going to rehash what you guys all said because you guys nailed it. But for me, in when we were previewing the game this week, we were talking about X factors and we were talking about some different things. And for me, offensively, the X factor was Riley Leonard. If he plays well, Notre Dame wins. If he doesn't play well, they probably lose. Like that's where I was with, and that's my definition of an X factor. Like they're going to go as Riley Leonard goes. And I thought he played a Riley Leonard game, and he made some plays that other quarterbacks just aren't going to make. I mean, that's the bottom line for me. It was funny because we were talking about, I think it was halftime, and we were talking about quarterback play and stuff like that. I was talking to a couple of the guys that were sitting nearby us, and we were talking about, where Riley Leonard should be in the 12 quarterbacks that are in the playoff and things like that. And I thought he was severely underrated in some of the polls that were out there, prior to the game. And I said, well, one thing I can tell you, he's the best quarterback on the field tonight. And I chimed in. He goes, the other guy might be the 4th best quarterback on the field tonight. Talking about the other guys that are on Notre Dame's roster, which I actually thought was kind of funny. But look, I just thought Riley Leonard played a Riley Leonard game, and that's what this team needs, right? He made plays with his legs. He made plays outside of the scheme, which was great. Those checkdowns we talked about. He put the ball deep when he needed to. He put it on the money. And he ran the ball well when he needed to run the ball well. I mean, it was a Riley Leonard game. I talked about the perfect stat line for Riley Leonard would be 200 yards through the air, 60 yards on the ground, and accounting for 3 touchdowns. He had over 200 in the air. I think he had 30 on the ground.
30, yeah.
2. So like he didn't even get to where I thought he would be. And he to me, he was still the X factor because they went as he went. So that's
two quick notes, guys, before we move on to defense. Number one, Jeremiah Love did go over 1,000 yards tonight. So that was good. Then Riley Leonard also set the all-time Notre Dame quarterback rushing touchdown record. Somebody in the chat noted it too. He was tied with Brandon Wimbush coming into the game, and he now said it. And this is the moment when I stopped looking at records. Game 13 is when I stopped looking at records.
Because nobody else had an opportunity to play more than that.
14. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But still two really cool nuggets for the offense for tonight.
100%. That's going to do it for our offensive look at the at Notre Dame's 27-17 win over IU, sending them home back to Bloomington, and Notre Dame off to Louisiana. So make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell, share with your family and friends, and of course, jump on the boards.irishbreakdown.com for all of your Notre Dame needs. We're gonna be breaking this one down for a little while, and then of course previewing. We've got about 12 days to break this one down and then ease on into the preview of Georgia and Notre Dame. So make sure you jump on the boards. There's going to be a lot of good discussion, a lot of good breakdowns over there. All right, guys, let's jump over to the other side of the football. Let's talk a little bit of defense. And I would say for 58 minutes, the defense was unstinking believable. I mean, They made it look like the varsity versus the JV. They made IU just out of what they wanted to do. They were forcing Curtis Rourke to throw under pressure, and he wasn't able to do it. They were getting after him from a sack standpoint. I mean, they were shutting down IU's run game. I mean, they were just there were some blitzes, some exotic blitzes that they were coming at. I mean, it was a complete game for 58 minutes, no doubt about that. And Notre Dame just did a fantastic job defensively. Brian, I'm going to kick it off to you and, your thoughts on the defense as a whole.
It's a vintage Al Golden performance and the vintage Notre Dame performance, and all the ways that I love, and then the ways that drive me nuts in really mostly irrelevant manners.
Right.
Feeling Indiana out a little bit early, and but kind of also at the same time, like, this is who we are. This is who we are. We're going to come out. We're going to be aggressive. I had somebody tell me before the game, or maybe I was listening to abroad, but if they heat up Indiana the way that they heat up other teams, that could get, because by the numbers, Curtis Rourke's really good when you blitz him. But, Trevor and I talked about this during the week. Yeah, except when he played Michigan and especially Ohio State, right? Because you're playing these other teams that aren't that good. And I thought this was just overall a strong all-around defensive performance. Even the plays that Indiana made in the pass game were just like great catches against really good coverage for the most part. I thought that the pressures weren't great in that they weren't getting home a ton early, but they were forcing Curtis Rourke to speed up his process a lot. I think you could see that they were kind of in his head a little bit early. And they were kind of forcing him to get the ball where they wanted it to. They were forcing him to throw some of the slides and the checkdowns that they were kind of playing for. And I thought that Al Golden all night was kind of just one step ahead of the Indian offense. And they made some plays. They were hurting Notre Dame early with some stretch plays, especially when the backup, when Gabriel Rubio had that one drive where the one good drive that India had in the first half.
Yeah.
They had a couple long runs where Gabriel got double teamed and whooped on another, and then they just washed him out on a stretch play on another to gash him for a little bit. But they did a good job rallying the ball, limiting him to 17 yards and 8 yards and things like that. And then they buckled down, right? When they got closer to the red zone, they buckled down and kept them out of the end zone. And I thought that it was just a vintage Al Golden performance. I mean, it really was, guys. It just was, one step ahead, mixing up, who's coming. There's a couple times that I thought that Notre Dame telegraphed their intentions a little bit too much. Where like there were times where Jack Kaiser was like lined up, and I'm looking at you, I'm like, he's smoking. You know what I mean? Like, he's not coming. Because like their body language is a little bit like, okay, they're coming, and there was very few times where you thought they were coming and they didn't, and very few times when they thought they were going to drop and they didn't. But I thought overall game plan was sound. I thought the Notre Dame defense played hard. They didn't play as clean as I would like, and you're going to go back and watch the film and realize that they just sometimes guys just made really good individual plays at certain times, but guys were missing gaps on the front and things like that, and there were some mistakes in that regard, but there was also a lot of different guys stepping up, and that's what made it a vintage defensive performance for this team. It's Bryce Young one play. Right, and Trev, good call on Bryce Young stepping up as a pass rusher in the postseason, by the way. That was a great edge rush. Like Trey Wedding, like Vince was like, that's a terrible pass set. And I said to him, I was like, no, actually, I didn't say it. I should have said this to you. I said, I want to be like, but that's worked all year in the Big Ten.
Right. I said, I go, that's a terrible pass set. I said, did he watch any film on Bryce Young?
Yeah, exactly. But
you don't know.
That's the thing I say, though. It's like, yes, you can watch film, but how do you prepare for that if no one on your team can do that and no one else that you've played in the Big Ten can do that?
I mean,
except the Ohio State kids who gave him problems.
He barely touched him. I mean, he just went right around him. And he's like,
it was him on one play. It was Josh Burnham on another play. It's Riley Mills, until he got hurt, was playing like a second-team All-American, like he was by Sporting News. He, including not just the plays he made, but like the hold. Because he whooped the guy and they had to hold him. Vince was not to hold. I mean, why do you here's the one thing where I'll say, I don't understand. I don't think you watch film. Like some of the things I'm like, look, running stretch plays, getting outside. I get that teams don't think they're as fast. But did you not at all watch what teams and what every team that's thrown at Leonard Moore past his first start has done this year? Like, have you at all paid attention to Leonard Moore? Have you at all thought, hey, number 0, we might want to stay away from, right? Like that's the stuff that kind of got me. I'm like, you're coming out right away throwing go routes at Leonard Moore. That really seems like a good idea to you.
Yeah, good game plan.
But so just those are some of my thoughts, guys. Great on third down, really good situational football. But the other thing too is, we talked about this yesterday. In games like this, your dudes got to be dudes. And Riley Mills was a dude tonight till he got hurt. Xavier Watts was a dude tonight. Leonard Moore was a dude tonight. And I thought Jack played a pretty good game. He wasn't as impactful as I kind of just felt like this was going to be like a Jack Kaiser night, but he was good. He was solid. Don Schuler was good again. But Xavier Watts, your All-American, has 10 tackles and a pick. And the thing is, he was not even in coverage on that play. He was trailing. But I think it was Jordan Clark and Don Schuler. I thought it just had great coverage and forced that ball. But it just was an all-around great performance, but it was the dudes were dudes, but it was just different guys stepping up. Drake Bowen made a couple huge plays tonight. And he had a couple stuffs early, but like reading that screen on second down and long, where I think it was second and long, where they're a great screen team. And they ran a slip screen. And if Drake Bowen doesn't read it the way he read it, they've got something, but it didn't matter because he read it perfectly, and just you're an offensive lineman. You're not getting a Drake Bowen if he reads the play. Just not going to happen. I just thought it was a great all-around team performance, but you just had different guys stepping up at different times, and your two biggest dudes were dudes. And Howard Cross didn't do a whole lot tonight, but you know what? You got him back, and he got to shake off some rust. The kid hadn't played in over a month. Actually, almost 2 now. You know what I mean? That was big. But you were dominant tonight without Howard Cross. And I know Indiana finished with 278 yards. They were at
140.
152.
Okay.
On 41 plays up to the moment Riley Leonard scored to make it 27-3. On their last 2 drives, they had 126 yards on 20 plays their last 2 drives. All garbage touchdowns when Notre Dame started playing prevent defense.
Yep.
Which is my final piece is I hate it that Al Golden does that in almost every game.
And he did. I know you didn't listen, but they interviewed Al Golden. He came up to for the press conference and all that, and he basically said, he's like, "Well, at that point, we pretty much had the game wrapped up, and I didn't."
And
feel
that's
like
what
throwing,
it is.
And he goes, and he flat out said, he's like, "I didn't feel like throwing anything at him." Like that. He goes, "That's where we're at."
And
we
he
had
does
that
that
game
at the end of every game. And you know what that tells me? Al Golden doesn't give 2 craps about where his team ranks statistically.
Right.
He doesn't give 2 craps. He cares about winning football games.
Right.
He's not in I'm trying to get the number 2 scoring defense in the country so I can get this pay raise and that. He's like, look, we won the game. We did what we need to do to win the game. I don't care if they throw a couple garbage touchdowns on the end of the game. Like, I think he got mad at Tony Elliott because the way they did it.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, they've given up so many garbage touchdowns this year. It frustrates me. And it's like, if the thing that pisses you off the most is they give up too many garbage touchdowns when you're blowing a team out, you're pretty freaking good. You know what I mean? But again, that mindset that he doesn't give a crap about where his team ranks is exactly why his defense is so good. Because they all buy into I don't care about all that. We're trying to dominate.
Right.
And you know what tonight? I don't care what the stats say. That defense freaking dominated tonight.
Yeah. Oh,
y'all can miss me with all that. This defense is overrated bull crap. You know what I mean? Greg McElroy, Curtis Work's been reckon. I don't know what's going on. He's playing Notre Dame. Yes. And some people don't. Yes, the USC game was an anomaly. This is a good football team that they played tonight. Good receiving core they played tonight. And Notre Dame got back to playing Notre Dame football. Right? And Trev, you and I talked about this. They got to bounce back from that win. Trev said yesterday, got to bounce back from the USC game. And boy, did they. Because you made Indiana earn everything they got tonight. Everything they got. There was no gimmies tonight. You had to make them earn it all. And this is a legit championship defense. And they showed it again tonight. Got to keep it rolling. Need 3 more of them. But they showed it tonight. This is an elite defense. And yes, the USC game was an anomaly.
Right. Sean, thoughts on the defense?
Defense was spectacular. Brian pretty much covered everything. I thought Kirk Cinetti's interview when he went into the halftime said it all. He's like, we're not doing a good job blocking them. We can't throw interceptions. We have to take the easy routes, and our receivers have to get separation. Well, man, if you're not doing any of that, what else do you expect? Indiana does have good talent, but I think Indiana hadn't faced guys that could be sticky, particularly on the outside. Even the catch Surratt made was that was bananas. The ball was like in his hands, through his legs, and he still came up with it. And then the last play that Gray gave, the coverage was really good. It was just a perfect back shoulder throw and a great catch.
Yeah.
everybody was sticky all night. Jordan Clark gave up a couple of quick throws, but for the most part, he made some great plays and coverage. And then, like you said, Riley Mills was a dude. He was just a dude. And they were sparingly using Howard Cross. I think they were trying to work him back into the rotation. Logan Thomas even got a sack, I think, at the second to last series next to last series that Indiana had. So everybody had a great game. But I just want to say this, man. Xavier Watts, man, might be one of the top 5 defenders I've ever seen in Notre Dame. That kid, man. And I laughed when he said it. Someone asked him, when Indiana looks at your film, what do they see? And he said, I hope they see a guy that's going to get the ball on Friday night. And I was like, oh, that was kind of bold. And lo and behold, interception. He was everywhere. And like you said, Brian, they didn't use him too much in coverage. Adon, the flexibility now, because Adon in his ascent,
he's so freaking good.
He's so good. And now they can really bring X down and use X different ways. And that really has made the defense on the back end much more dangerous. So overall, man, I think there was one stat that I heard, which goes to Indiana and goes back to the game against Michigan and Ohio State. When they're not able to dictate offensively, they struggle. Before the last 2 drives, they had 1 first down play that went for more than 4 yards. 1, which means they were off schedule all night, which means they can't dictate. Notre Dame, with early run blitzes and everything they were doing, they were aggressive. Like you said, Brian, they were going to be who they were. They didn't wait, like Indiana, like, let's wait and see if we can, put 6 in the box and, like, control the run game. No, Al Golden came out and was like, nope, we're not giving them time. We're taking the run game away with the run blitzes. We're being aggressive. We're going to let our outside guys cover. That's what we're doing. And I thought that aggression kind of fed down to the rest of the team and the rest of the defense, and they kept it up all night. Like you said, for them to be at 153, middle of the fourth quarter, 3 points,
41 for 152 when the game was 27-3.
That's crazy. That's crazy. We're talking about a defense that's not at 100%.
Right.
This team, man, that's the word. Team. I forget if somebody said it, one of the players said it. No, it was Jeremiah Love. They interviewed him on the field before the game.
Yep.
And he said, yo, this team is not the same team that it was last year as far as a brotherhood belief.
Yeah.
And I don't even need the stories behind that. You can see it. You can just flat out see it. There's nothing coming to, they're not breaking at the seams when things happen. It's just workmanlike. Like one play, next play. That's what Marcus Freeman preaches and has been preaching the entire time. They are fully bought in. They believe it, and they go out and execute it. And if it doesn't go their way, man, go to the next play. And that defense was just surgical tonight from top down. Al Golden was not going to let them get on track. And then once they forced them, you could see Signetti was just frustrated on the sidelines. Like, man, what can we go to? And then they went to the short passing game a little bit, but then it's only so many times you can do that because Notre Dame adjusted to that, took some things away, sticky in coverage, and then that's when the pressure started to get to Rourke. They started getting some negative plays, in the pass rush as well as the run game. Hey, man, I've never really been this confident about a Notre Dame team going into playoff games. And this feels pretty good, Irish fans.
Agreed.
This feels darn good.
Yeah. Yep. Trevor, defense, brother. What do you think?
I don't want to hear anything more about how Notre Dame's rush defense isn't good. Won't hear it. I won't. I mean, it's 63 rushing yards in a game, 2.3 yards per carry against two backs that combined for 22 touchdowns this year. You know, Notre Dame's run defense tonight was phenomenal. Tackling was phenomenal. And you could tell, Sean, you brought it up. You want to talk about not being able to dictate the game. How do you dictate a football game? Establishing the ground game. They couldn't. They weren't able to move the football until, 2 minutes left in the game? You know? And so, I mean, to me, that just, it kind of speaks to the stats when you take out the triple option teams that Notre Dame faced this season.
Yep.
You know? But I don't want to hear any more about how Notre Dame's vulnerable in the run game, and you might how do you attack this defense? I'm willing to listen to all ears. Maybe we get Mike Denbrock in on the problem. How do you game plan for this defense? Because tonight, to me, they showed that they can stop the run very effectively. They allowed 2.3 yards per carry. Their true freshman corner was targeted 7 times and gave up 1 reception. Xavier Watts somehow, again, got another interception. How? Couldn't tell you.
And 10 tackles.
And
Dude,
how do you
the field?
how do you stop it? You lose your second best. I mean, honestly, 1A, 1B, they're interchangeable. Defensive tackle this game after Howard Cross comes back for the first time healthy in almost 6 weeks, almost 2 months. BMO's down. Christian Gray's kind of still battling back from the slump game against USC. I thought tonight Christian played pretty well.
He was good. They made 2 tough catches on him, which is what they do,
Yeah. But it's, again, how do you game plan for this team?
Yeah.
And that's my takeaway from this defense is regardless of what the offense does, which, I mean, they're starting to catch fire. I think little nugget that I had to add before we moved over to the defense was just, dude, Riley Leonard was for the majority of the 12 games in the regular season, he was an athlete playing quarterback. Tonight, I think he played quarterback. He was stepping up in the pocket when he broke outside of the pocket. He was keeping his eyes downfield. He was taking checkdowns. He was keeping drives alive. I think tonight he played quarterback. So you have a guy like that catching his rhythm. You have the number 1 rush defense in all of college football give up a 98-yard touchdown run on the second drive of the game. And this rush defense that supposedly can't stop the run, and that's where they're vulnerable, allowed 2.3 yards a carry tonight. I mean...
And I want to add some context to that too, Trevor, because you talk about 2, 3. Well, they sacks. Thank you. Sacks. Both of their running backs averaged 3.4 yards per carry tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you take sacks out and you look at the 2 running backs, and then Miles Price had a 2-yard jet sweep, they ran the ball for 73 yards, from their non-quarterback sacks on 22 carries.
Mm-hmm.
From again. Take out the pass game. Well, they got some sacks and take that out. Cool. Let's take that out. Tyson Lawton had 34 yards tonight on 10 carries. 22 of those came on 1 carry. Justice Ellison had 37 yards on 11 carries. 15 of those came on 1 carry. So of those 73 yards they got tonight on 22 carries, 37 of them came on 2 carries. They're both relatively early, right? That's dominance, Trev, to your point. It's not, okay, well, they had a bunch of sacks tonight. Nope. Take those out. I just gave you the numbers. 73 yards on 22 carries. Against 2 good backs. 2 good running backs.
Yep.
And they shut them down. And did not do so, Trev. A lot of inferior defenses can do that. You can stop that, but still couldn't beat him in the throwing game. Curtis Rourke ended up with 215 passing yards. When Riley Leonard scored to make it 27-3, Vince, I believe he was under 100 at that point in time. He was under 100 yards in the fourth quarter.
It was 94.
With less than 5 minutes to go in the game. He was under 100 yards passing.
Yeah, I think it was 94
they got a bunch
yards.
of garbage passing yards at the end.
Yeah, he ended up with like 215.
Yeah,
but it was 94, I think, going into those final two drives.
Yes, he was. I definitely know he was sub 100.
Yeah.
So not only did you shut down the passing game, you shut down the run game.
Right.
So it's not. So to Trevor's point, it's not like they overcommitted to the run to stop it. Like people say, well, there was no Haynes King against Georgia Tech, so you could just focus all your attention on stopping Jamal Haynes. All right, cool. What's the excuse tonight? What's your talking point tonight, Trevor?
Hey, man.
Of why they were able to stop down run and also completely shut down Indiana's passing game.
Right. There's such a difference between stopping somebody and holding somebody to 15 yards in 60 minutes, dude. Like there's a difference between stopping somebody and dominating somebody. So, but no, I agree. Like it's Notre Dame's rush defense is good. This defense is good. And they're still not even healthy, man. I mean, man. This defense is good.
That's the scary part, right? Brian, did I say to you this week, if they had Botello and Traore, I would flat out pick them to win the championship.
Just give me one.
If they had the pass rush element off the edge, I would without question, I would pick them to beat everybody. Like, we're running the tape. That's really the only weakness that you can see. Maybe as you get later in the game, the pass rush slows down a little bit. Maybe that becomes an issue. But for me, just watching this team play is really, it just seems like somebody's going to make a play. It's going to be somebody in that front four. It's going to be somebody in the linebacker core. It's going to be somebody in the defensive backfield. Somebody is going to make a play. But I wonder, going back to what we said offensively and their coaching, do you think they were stubborn as well offensively? Because like you said, they tried to throw outside. What, man, you didn't watch Leonard Moore against USC?
Yeah.
You didn't watch Leonard Moore since he's taken over? Yeah, Christian Gray had some plays, but gave up some plays, but it's not like he's getting blown by and people are like clear of him like 5 yards. It's like, you're just going to continue to, but that's what they've been doing all year. Running the ball, throwing back shoulder fades. That's the strength of Rourke. And it seems like when they weren't able to do and dictate like they normally dictate, it was like a house of cards. Everything just began to fall to the wayside, So I just think, and once again, this cat and mouse game that Al Golden does, like he has a way of making you do what you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what he did early. Like, we're going to take this run away because you're not going to be able to do both. If you hit some big plays down the field early, fine. But you're not going to be able to be balanced, because as many points as they put up, it wasn't like they're just this offense that just throws the ball like 60% of the time. They're a pretty balanced offense, and once that balance was taken away from them, they became one-dimensional, and it was target practice on Rourke, for the rest of the night, man.
Yeah.
That was impressive, man. 3 points. I thought they were going to end up with 3 points, honestly.
Well, they probably should have, but I
really
mean, did. That's okay.
I've never been more pissed to have my prediction basically be spot on. I predicted 28-17. I've never been more pissed in my life because I was like, because it shouldn't have been that. It should have been a game that was, like I said, 27-3, and you shut it down and all this other kind of stuff. So,
it should have been 41-3. I mean, like, let's
defensively, right? Defensively, I'm more referring to it, right? But this team is just fun to watch, guys. It really is.
Yeah.
And like you said, Joe, you're doing it without your All-American cornerback. You're doing it without your best pass rusher. You're last year pre-All-American D tackles, his first game back since the first Saturday of November. Your other All-American D tackle, who was recently named the second-team All-American, he gets hurt. Third quarter? Was it third quarter he gets hurt? And your defense doesn't miss a beat until you call off the dogs.
Right.
It's like, okay, this guy makes a play, and then Drake Bowen makes a big play, and then Jack makes a big play, and then Josh Burnham makes a big early play, and man, it just was all Bryce Young makes a big play. I mean, just that's what makes this Notre Dame team so good, guys. Is there's been a lot of Notre Dame teams last decade that have had a better top 2 or 3 players, just individual talents. The 2015 team with Jalen Smith, and Sheldon Day, who was, as much as I love Riley Mills and Howard Cross, they aren't what Sheldon was in 2015. He was a monster in 2015. But Kavari was really good that year. I mean, it's just top to bottom. This team is so good, and they bring guys off the bench, and nothing changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like Donovan Heidish comes in, and it's like, boy, I thought that was Howard Cross for a second there.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I thought RJ Open was really solid on the edge against the run. He doesn't get any credit because he's just not what we thought he was going to be. Very solid on the edge. We talked about that one play, Vince, where Riley just throws the guard and makes a play. But it's like the only reason Riley makes that play is because Junior Chilamaka came off the edge and just blew up the puller and forced the guy right into Riley.
Yep.
And then Riley that's it. They are a great team defense. But I think it goes back to what I said earlier. When your coordinator doesn't give 2 rips about having the number 1 ranked defense here or the number 1 ranked scoring, which if Notre Dame cared about putting teams away in the fourth quarter when they're up by 4 or 5 touchdowns, they'd have the number 1 scoring defense in the country. But he doesn't care.
Right.
To his point, like, okay, fine, go 9-10 plays and take 3 minutes off the clock and score.
Exactly.
We just whooped you.
Because that was the biggest enemy with the clock.
It drives me nuts because
right.
I'm sitting here on, and doing a post podcast at 2:00 in the morning. But for the guy leading that defense, it's like, it's not about me. It's not about me doing this thing that I can put on my resume to show NFL teams, look what I did here, look what I did there. It's like, hey guys, we're trying to win a championship.
Right.
And I did what I needed to do tonight to get my boys in position to win a championship. And I think, guys, your team is a reflection of your leadership. And it's the head coach, it's the coordinators, the position coaches, and then your team leaders. And there's a lot of self-sacrificing going on with those guys. And you just see it, and that's what makes them so good. And I got to keep it rolling for the next 3 games. But that's what's made this team so good. And I just love the fact we saw no shaken confidence from them tonight after what happened at USC. They knew. Guys, that's not us. We didn't play our game. We weren't getting beat by better players. We weren't getting exposed because we didn't play our game. We were making mistakes we haven't made all year. You know what happened tonight, guys? They didn't make those mistakes. They dominated Indiana. So, yeah.
Listen.
Just a lot of the guys just do the stuff. Like, they don't get the love of the Crosses and the Millses and the Wattses, but they just do their jobs, man.
Yep, exactly.
Junior Chilamaka did not play a single freaking defensive snap the first 2 games there. He was riding the pine. Just not playing. Wasn't a part of the plans on defense. Jordan goes down. He's got to answer the bell. And he answered the bell every freaking game. He doesn't make a lot of sexy. Just does his job. RJ Open's not the pass rusher we hoped he could be. He was a questionable run defender at Duke. He's been at Notre Dame. Pretty darn good run defender. Can't rush the quarterback worth the darn, but he's pretty
right.
He just does his job. I love this. I love watching this group play. I do. Trevor Nails, this is a really good freaking defense, man.
Yeah. Well, and the last thing I want to highlight before we give out some game balls is just, and I know we've said this a bunch this year, and I need to bring it up again, is just the speed of this defense. And I talked about the speed of the offense, but the speed of the defense. And look, I've watched countless games in the press box, Notre Dame games at Notre Dame Stadium and elsewhere, just a ton of games, right? And watching Notre Dame's defense, look, they've had good defenses. They've had great defenses, right? This is an elite defense because they have the speed that they haven't had across the board that they have this year. Like, there's been, a Jalen Smith, or there's been a Manti Te'o. There's been guys
to it, right?
Jeremiah
Wusu-Koramoah, Kyle Hamilton, right?
Yes,
Julian Love.
There's been guys, but there hasn't been this many guys at the same time on the same defense. And I mean, I've seen numerous times where an offensive team will get the edge, and you see, and you're like, oh boy, this might not be great. And numerous times this year, that thought crosses my mind. I'm like, oh, this might not be good. And then all of a sudden, there's 3 gold helmets taking them down for either a loss, no gain, or maybe a gain of a yard. Like, it's like, Vince, you should know this by now. You've watched this team enough this year. Like, why do you keep thinking that they're going to get the edge? They don't get the edge because Notre Dame is so fast, sideline to sideline. And that is the thing that I am reminded of every time I watch this team play, is how fast they are. And I still don't think they get the credit for that yet. They don't. And they're not going to until they've won the last game of the season. Like that's just where I'm at with this defense. They're that good, but they're not going to get the credit until they get there. I'm convinced of that at this point. And so, look, this defense just keeps playing, man. They keep coming out. They keep dominating. They keep doing what they do, even with the injuries. I'm just impressed by the defense as a whole.
Jordan Patel goes down. Boubacar dominates. Then Boubacar goes down, and Junior and Burnham step up.
Right.
Bryce Young starts to flash. He goes down. Logan Thomas comes in and gets a sack. Like, it's unreal. Can I be petty for a second before we go to the game balls? Hey, Football Writers Association of America, I want you to take that second-team All-American award for Xavier Watts that kept him from being unanimous again. I want you to shine it up real nice. And I want you to turn that sideways and stick it up your candy. Bull crap, he's not a unanimous All-American. There's not a better safety in college football, and we saw why tonight. You know the best thing about Xavier Watts? You know every time I said in the why am I picking him to be my player of the game on defense? Because this is what he does in big games. This is what he does. This is who he is. Giving him second-team All-American. You guys are clueless. My man Tim O'Malley texted me when I said it. He's like, hey, this ain't my fault. He showed me his award. He put him on first team. So my dude did it right. But that's bull crap because you just watched the best safety in college football play ball tonight and dominate in a game the biggest game of the year. And that's what he's done his whole freaking career since they put him on defense. When the lights are brightest, Xavier Watts is at his best. You know what I love about it? Don Schuler's shown himself to be the exact same freaking way. And, man, he's got the greatest example. Don's already kind of had that mindset, that mentality. He's just – this is a kid who's not a great player. Also, National Honor Society in high school and all that kind of stuff. But what a better example could you have of hey, I want to be like that guy than Xavier Watts. And so that second-team All-American bull crap is – y'all can stick that where the sun don't shine because y'all got that one way wrong. Actually try watching the sport that you cover. Just a little helpful advice for you. Actually watch the games. Don't give us Georgia, Malachi. No. You just watched the best safety in college football tonight play like the best safety in college football tonight. And y'all kept him from getting what he earned, which is a second straight unanimous All-American honor. But even with that, first defense, only the second defensive back in Notre Dame history to be at least consensus 2 years in a row. The only other, my dude Todd Light. When you're in company where only Todd Light at Notre Dame has done what you've done, you're a star. And you know what? He played like one tonight. So can I just segue into the game balls, Vince? That's my game.
I'm gonna say, I think you kind of went. I think you kind of did not there. Yeah. Look, there was a
best
point.
Safety in college football.
There was a point in the game where on back-to-back plays, the first play, Xavier Watts comes down and he makes a tackle on the perimeter. Okay, the very next play, he comes down and gets a tackle for loss in the middle of the defense, and then he comes out like a bear crawl, at the end. I leaned over to Sean Stiers and I was like, we were talking about the amazing play that Xavier Watts made in space on the perimeter. And then, there's a tackle for loss. And I go, you know who made that play, right? And he's like, was it Riley Mills? Like, oh, no, it was Xavier Watts. Mm-hmm. Like, he's everywhere. Like, zero is everywhere on the field.
What's one of the biggest issues Notre Dame's had against the run in the last month of the season was that quick pitch against the blitz. And they had an answer for it tonight. What is your answer? Put Xavier in the alley.
Yeah, exactly.
And they ran that play and he ate it up. And he makes a tackle in space. I mean, it's like, well, we got an answer for that. Hey, Zero, get on that for us.
Right.
And he did it. He's so great. And you know what the best thing about it, guys? It's one of the best kids you'll ever meet in your life. Just as a human being. As much as I hate the transfer portal, Xavier Watts had every legitimate reason on the planet to transfer out of Notre Dame. Every single one.
Yeah, they jerked him around.
He was dominating on scout team. Players, I know this for a fact, and this isn't being told by anyone that knows Xavier. Like that's like it's not his parent or something like that. I'm being told this by parents of other players. Man, my kid does nothing but talk about this number 82. It was Xavier. Because remember, he was 82 when he first got here. He just dominates. Kyle Hamilton just hates covering that guy in practice because he's so freaking good. Gave him no opportunities to play on offense. And he had every legitimate reason to say, screw this place. I'm getting shafted. I'm out. But he didn't. He stayed. He stuck through it. And what's he been rewarded with? Back-to-back All-American honors and one of the best defensive players to ever play for the University of Notre Dame. And that's what we should be lifting up as college football analysts and college football leadership is that type of thing. This is why you don't just quit on your team because things aren't going your way. So why don't you jump in a portal when your feelings are hurt because things aren't going your way? Look what Xavier Watts has become because he stayed. Yep. He stayed and he kept fighting. He didn't quit because things weren't going his way. And he had it, guys. If he would have left, I wouldn't have blamed him.
Sure.
I wouldn't have blamed him one bit.
Nope.
But he said, nah, nope, I'm not doing that. I'm going to finish what I started. And good Lord, has he finished it in an incredible fashion.
You're not kidding. Sean, game ball defense.
I'm going to double up. 0.
How can you not? Yeah.
No, he talked it during the week. He backed it up. And like I said, I've been watching for a long time. As a fighting Irish fan, going all the way back to the Lou Holtz days when you had some pretty good secondary company and some pretty good defenders playing. He's one of them ones, as we say. Yep. He's one of them ones, and I'm gonna miss him, man.
Oh,
there are players that you watch go. You know, we all loved Aldrick, right? But I know I said, Aldrick, I love you, but I can't wait to see 4 and 24.
It's worked out.
And I love Aldrick.
Yeah.
I watch Broncos games to see his carries. Love Aldrick.
Led the team in rushing yesterday, right?
It's going to take me, it might take me half a season to get over X not being back there next year. That's how much I really enjoy watching this young man play. He is absolutely fan. And the story, I remember a practice. You remember when they had the injuries? Brian, we were standing in practice. And this one practice, they were like, well, we're going to try and back a receiver. And he's catching 50-50 balls in practice. And we're like,
yeah.
And we were really happy when he decided to go back over to the defensive side of the ball and fight to get back over there. But it was like, this kid is he's just amazing, man. It didn't matter where they played him. It just speaks to his attitude. He just went out there and played, did what the coaches asked him to do. And when he had the moment to kind of speak his mind, they were willing to listen to him and oblige him. And
do you remember the highlight video they put out from one of those practices? I think it was him. I think it was like 21. It was Buckner's freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
And they show Xavier playing receiver and he's just smoking dudes on like this post route for a touchdown. And you're just like, this is the year that he's going to finally get a chance. And they never gave him that chance.
Yeah.
And so Marcus Freeman was like, well, we'll take him.
We'll take him.
You know what I mean? It reminded me of like the Barry Alvarez story. Like there's going to be a 30 for 30 someday. If there's ever 30. I've got to hear that story about how it's like Barry Alvarez. I love when Pat Terrell tells the story. Pat Terrell, you're the greatest receiver I've ever coached. Until we throw you the damn ball, you're moving to safety. Because Barry Alvarez is like, hey, we'll take him.
Right.
You know? And he turned into be a great player, helped them win a national championship, right? And that's what Xavier did, guys. I just love watching that kid play. He's everything that's right. In an era where there's so much that's wrong with college football, he's everything that's right about college football.
Agreed.
Love it.
Trevor.
I agree with everything that you guys said about Xavier Watts, but I'm gonna go a different route just so I'm not the third person because I agree, and I'm going Leonard Moore. Dude's a baller. People do not talk about him enough, mostly because there's other really, really, really good players on the team. But I mean, that dude is locked. Why you keep throwing at him? Couldn't tell you. 17 targets.
Keep doing it.
Please.
Look, he would have had an interception.
Yes.
He would have had an interception. I'm telling you, I did not. I didn't see Adon coming over.
He made
to be
it.
honest with
He
you,
was
'cause I was watching,
off
and
the
I
hat,
was
dude.
like, "That's underthrown. That's getting picked right now. Like that's
Yeah.
getting picked by Leonard. Like is it happening?" And then I mean, look, Adon made a great play coming all the way over and making a play on the ball and all that. Totally, but if he wasn't there, that's an interception, man.
So Trevor, Vince goes to me with the balls in the air. Vince goes to me, goes, "Oh, that's a pick." And I turned to Vince and I was like, "Well, I don't think it would have been a pick. I don't think he gets his foot in bounds." Because I was talking about Adon, and he's like, "No, I was talking about Leonard." Yeah. I was like, "Okay," because I was watching Adon.
Yeah.
Because I was watching him get off the hash. That's what I was watching. I looked at the rib. I was like, "Oh my gosh, if Adon doesn't tip that pass, that's a pick."
Yes.
Leonard Moore. I thought he was talking about Adon, and he was like, "No." He's like, "If Don," he's like, "Watch the replay. If Adon doesn't tip that ball, Leonard's about to pick it." I was like, "Sure enough,
it's a pick, man. I'm telling
exactly
you."
What
and they both knew it. They talked about it after the play was over.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like, dude, you rip one from me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Leonard Moore gets my game ball. That dude is locked down.
No, I love that.
He's 18 years old. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic.
I think both of those kids that made those plays are both teenagers.
It's nuts.
I think 3 of their 4 starting defensive backs are teenagers.
I think what they have to do now is next year they just give Leonard Moore number 20 and they give Adon Schuler number 0.
Just keep it in the family.
Just help me cushion the blow.
I like it. I like it.
Did you just say so that for your emotional support,
yes.
Trevor?
Yeah. Just to help a little bit, man. I was like, I think that's him. I think that's Xavier.
Yeah.
I mean, they play pretty similarly. So,
man.
All right, that's going to do it for our defensive chat today. We got a bunch of super chats to get to, so don't go anywhere. But make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell, share with your family and friends, and of course, jump on the boards.irishbreakdown.com. All kinds of good stuff over there, and it's going to keep coming because we got more games to talk about. We got more games to talk about, man, and I could not be more fired up than I am right now. I've never been this fired up at 2:30 in the morning. I can promise you that. So I am fired up. So make sure you hang out with us over the next 12 games plus or 12 days plus because we're going to be bringing it to you nonstop. But we got a bunch of super chats, so hang in. All right, let's get to these super chats, Brian. And Joe is leading it off right off the bat, man. Joe, thank you so much for the super chat. Huge Irish win. It brightened an otherwise gloomy day. Wish I could have made it out there, but family first. Faison was huge. Leonard was poised. As always, thank you guys. Go Irish. Beat dogs.
Sounds like there's some stuff going on there with you, my man. And
he actually reached out to me.
4 guys that have had some.
Yeah.
We feel your pain, brother, and we'll be praying for you, Vince. You know what's going on, so
I do.
We'll keep them in our prayers.
Yep, 100%. They lost a very important furry family member.
Oh.
So we're definitely keeping our prayers, Joe.
I'm sorry, buddy.
That's a tough one. That's a tough one. But he chose family and decided to stay home, be with his wife, and that's awesome. So
the correct decision, 100 times out of 100, my friend.
Yes.
100 times out of 100.
Absolutely, Joe. But thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate you very much. And I did see, by the way, that you messaged me at halftime. I was just too fired up to respond. So I'll
fired up about getting in line for the halftime food.
Actually, I was too fired up about taking food to my son.
Yeah,
it was funny. I just kept pulling out hot dogs out of my pockets.
That's why there weren't any left for me at halftime. You selfish.
It's great. Oh, Paulie B, thanks for the super chat. So proud to be Irish. Huge win tonight. So happy for this team. Much love to the IB fam and all Irish fans. On to NOLA, beat Georgia. Love it. Love it. That's good stuff right there.
Crash Davis 8. We haven't seen you in a long time, man. Good to see. I think it's been over a year or 2 since Crash.
Wow. Comes out for the big game.
So, yeah, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks for the super chat, Crash. Appreciate it very much. I actually love the way this game ended. It gives coaches a ton of material leading into UGA. Thoughts?
Yeah, this super chat was provided before the show started, and we confirmed that we agree with Crash on this one. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, you always want to play perfect football, right?
Didn't like it in the moment.
Oh, I was pissed. Vince, I was so cranky walking out to the car, man. He was, I was like Ohio State 22 for Vince post game. I was cranky as heck. No, but you just remind yourself when you talk about first world problems, third world problems. First world problems are I'm so sick of when they're blowing teams out that they give up late touchdowns. I'm just tired of giving up these late fourth quarter touchdowns when they're murdering the opponent. You know what I mean? Like that's a good place to be. But no, I agree. There's a lot to keep this team focused and dedicated and working on towards getting better. And that's the thing that works for us. So we can be better than this, and they can be better than this, and that gives you stuff to do. Good stuff. Good to see you, Crash.
Yep. Arrow Guy 173. Thanks for the super chat. Defense is Madden. Offense is maddening. That said, Faison game ball. If not, who? Well, we kind of went over our game balls actually, and one person did choose Faison.
Well,
I mean,
and I think we all thought about it, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, he was in the conversation for all of us.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You know, I don't agree with this take. I don't think the offense was maddening.
I don't think so either. No, I don't think so either.
I think, first of all, I think Indiana's a really good defense.
Sure.
I mean, Notre Dame almost had Indiana's season total of yards in this by halftime.
Right.
You know, they were like, was it like 230 something, Vince, or something like that at halftime? They were close to that. They were over, you know, I mean, they gained almost 400 yards against Indiana. So now I just look, I mean, I know we all want that perfect game, but
sure.
You know, it's like Trev said it, Vince said it, like playoffs aren't about style points. They're about winning.
Yep.
And when they jumped up 14-0, this football team said, hey, listen, you know, we're not going to give them a chance to get back in this game. We're not going to give them a chance to say, hey, listen, we're going to make a mistake. Notre Dame put back-to-back scoring drives together so look, they didn't score on their first drive. They went 98 yards in their second drive. And on their third drive, they went, what was it, Vince? 16 plays, 83 yards, took 9 minutes off the clock. Guys, the game was over at that point in time.
Correct.
The way that their defense was, it was over.
A 9-minute
and Mike
drive.
Denbrock was not going to make calls that were going to put them in position to make the kind of mistakes that allow Indiana to get back in that game.
Yeah.
So it wasn't maddening. I mean, could it have been better? Heck, yes, it could have been better.
Well, because
I bet you Mike Denbrock sitting in his office tonight, or he's probably home by now, just in his head replaying, we should have hit this ball. We should have made this block. We should have made this play.
Drop.
And that's what great coaches do. They're never happy. They're never happy. If he would have hit 2/3 of the plays they miss, he'd be talking about the third that they didn't make. And that's what keeps you happy. But, I mean, I think the offense did what they needed to do tonight, guys. It wasn't sexy. It wasn't pretty. I think it could have been better, should have been better. But it was good, and they didn't win in spite of the offense.
No, not at all.
They won, a 98-yard drive and an 83-yard drive on back-to-back possessions to go up 14-0 against a team that was giving up 14 points a game this year. You know, so I'm going to push back a little bit on that and say that it's a pretty good performance by the Notre Dame football team.
Look, Notre Dame had 9 total drives in this game. They scored on 5 of them, and one that they didn't score on was a block field goal.
Yeah.
Would you want some of those field goals to be touchdowns? Yeah. No doubt about it. No doubt. This game would have been OVER so much earlier if those field goals are touchdowns. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
But they still scored, you know, they answered the bell when it needed to be answered. So look, there's stuff to work on, all that, but at the end of the day, they score.
I also think similar to the defense, the offense just does what they need to win the game. You know what I mean? Like that's what they've done all season. Like all season, we've been waiting for this. Like, man, like just wait till they have that 500-yard day. It's like, well, maybe they just don't have to, man. You know, maybe at some point it'll come up to it in the playoffs where they have to. And based on how this team has played for 12 games, almost said for 13. Based on how this team has played for 12 of their games this season, I have full faith that if a game calls for the offense has to go for 500 total yards, and I think that they could. Like, I do like that. Like, that's just, you see what the defense does. And like in a game where you have to shut down the run, they allowed 2.3 yards per carry as a team to Indiana. You know, I mean, again, look, against USC, they scored 35 points in 3 quarters, but they don't eclipse the 30-point mark tonight. And now the offense is just, you know what I mean? Like, guys, they haven't played football in 3 weeks. Like you know, to some degree, I expected this. I was a touchdown off from my score prediction for Notre Dame, and I thought they were going to sneak in a defensive touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And so, like, offensively, I thought they did what I thought they were going to do tonight. So I get it. Thank you for the super chat, though.
Very much.
Do it. John A1, thanks for the super chat. Great win. Get healthy. Great win. And bookends it with great win because he's right.
I love the fact they're going to have 12 days off before their next game.
Man. Look, and they're going to have double-digit days off if they win the next round, too. You know what I mean? Like
This was a physical football game, Vince.
It was. Yeah, totally.
Props to Indiana. Indiana battled tonight.
Yeah.
They just played a much better team. Like that's not a team like where the moment was too big. You know, it just they played a better football team. And that's what pisses the disrespect being thrown at Indiana tonight by ESPN was pissing me off because it's like if Notre Dame beats Georgia next week, is anybody like, well, you know, the SEC's not that good, and are they, you know, no, they're not going to say, oh, you know, just Georgia didn't have Carson back and all this other bull crap excuses that we're going to use to why Notre Dame beat Georgia if that does happen next week. And it's not going to be easy. It's Georgia's a heck of a football team. But it's like, hey, you guys ever think for a second that Notre Dame's just really good? I mean, sometimes the easiest answer is the right answer. And Indiana's a heck of a football team. They're a heck of a football team. They played their butts off tonight. Notre Dame's going to need that 12 days of rest because they battled tonight. And Notre Dame's just better. Indiana was physical. Notre Dame was more physical. Indiana was well coached. Notre Dame was better coached. Indiana played their butts off. Notre Dame played even better. And that's what this game was tonight. The better football team won.
Yeah,
doesn't mean Indiana's not. It's what I said all week, Trev. Because you kind of caught some of my frustration when you and I talk off shows. Like I get so frustrated hearing people just tell me how Indiana's not good. Indiana's not good, and your response is, "But Notre Dame did that." This isn't about is Indiana better than Notre Dame. They're not. We never said they were. This is a darn good football team. They didn't accidentally win 10 of their 11 games by at least 2 touchdowns. This is a good football team. Yeah, but the 2 best teams they played beat them. Yeah, because they're 2 of the 5 best teams in college football. So Indiana's the 9th best team instead of the 5th or 3rd. But they played the hottest team in college football tonight and got beat by a more talented team that's been in a lot more of these games than they've been in. I enjoyed watching this football team this year. I enjoyed breaking down their film. Trevor and I talked a lot about that. They just didn't have Notre Dame's horses. That's what it came down to.
Mm-hmm.
Better team won tonight. Simple as that. And now they got to get healthy and get some rest and, you know, and be ready to roll.
It's the playoffs. If you lose in the playoffs, you don't suck. Like it's just,
Big Hoss, thanks for the super chat. Hey, Siri, Google the final score of ND versus Indiana. Good win, fellas. Impressed by Riley Leonard after the pick. Great pocket awareness. JF really showed up in the wide receiver room. Jordan Faison really showed up in the wide receiver room as well. As always, I love the show. Go Irish.
I love that one. And Steven Springfield, a super chat. Thank you, Steven, very much. He said, Google me, Kurt. Marcus Freeman, probably. It just made me think of that. Have you ever seen the movie 4 Christmases with Vince Vaughn and Reese Witherspoon?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, one time.
He's like, Google me. And it's like, that's Marcus Freeman. He's on top of Vince Vaughn hitting him. Google me. You know what? I kind of feel like that's what Marcus Freeman did to Kurt Cignetti tonight. I still think, because Marcus Freeman doesn't really get into the trash talking thing. He's always focused on Notre Dame. I still can't get over Marcus Freeman's opening comment about Indiana where he's like, you know, I Googled him and he's done a really good job.
I was about to say, he answered it in the most Marcus Freeman way.
And he did it so it so just kind of like nonchalantly. He didn't do it like with that little smirk that he gets sometimes, you know, and he didn't do it. And he just kept rolling about how good Indiana was. But like, you know, that was a little bit of a shot, you know, and that it was.
Look, Marcus Freeman has proven to me over the last 2 weeks that he is kind of the ultimate troll. Number one, he said that he Googled Kurt Cignetti. And number 2, he wore the black hoodie to his press conference when all that internet crap was going. Like, I'm convinced. Like, I'm sorry. Marcus Freeman is the most subtle troll on the face of the earth, and I'm here for it, man. Like, good for you, dude. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And his team's now 12-1.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Got a couple quick ones. Alex Murphy on a super chat. Irish stomped on the cigarette. I like that. Kurt Cignetti still did a heck of a job with that football team.
There's no doubt about it. He deserved all his flowers.
Ran into a better team
and all that. Now, I would have counseled him to stay in the locker room before the game as opposed to going out
That
on the game day stage. Like,
Vince, you played that for me after the game, and I was like, that was the moment where he knew his team was maybe his defensive coach didn't know what, but I feel like that was the first time I really felt like we were getting some false bravado from
yes. Completely agree.
Like that was the first time I felt like it was acting. Like you know what I mean? You guys we all knew this guy in this bully in high school, right? Where he would beat up on and he just and then that one time that dude that he knows could probably whoop him steps up to him and he's like, well, I mean, but y'all don't want none of this as he's backing up. You know what I mean? Like that was Curt Cignetti tonight.
Yep.
Like if I'd have seen that before the game, I'd have been like, oh, they're done.
Yeah.
They're toast.
Right.
They're toast because Notre Dame doesn't play that game. And that's what I love about the leadership of this team. They just, hey, we're focused on us. We're focused on us. We're focused on us.
You know, they hear it. You know, they asked Marcus Freeman to come out on that show too. And he's like, no, I got a game to coach.
Yeah, like, I would imagine so. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he was on the stage, saying what he was saying. This is after Notre Dame did the player walk into the stadium. So like Notre Dame's in the stadium. They're getting dressed. They're getting ready to go. And Curt Cignetti's on the stage talking trash. Like, dude, bad look, man.
Hey, I hate to break it to you, buddy. This ain't Nebraska.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
But they were 25 in the coaches poll.
Yeah.
Ryan.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even both polls. I mean, come on, bro.
Like, wow.
Come on, dude.
Wow.
Zach Nichols had another one, super chat. Zach, I met Zach tonight, and boy, did Cignetti coach scared, and you are correct.
Yeah, no doubt.
I wouldn't say it's like scared's like kind of. Yeah, I'll say it. I mean, he coached
very conservatively, very conservatively.
Events tonight was really cool because we met Griff, we met I forget who the other person told. Larry was another guy that we met tonight that both told us they watched the first live show we ever did, which was the post-game rant after the Bama loss. And the thing that we were pissed about was not that Notre Dame lost. That was a great Bama team. It's that Notre Dame's head coach coached not to get blown out.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like after Notre Dame went up 14-0, Curt Cignetti coached not to get blown out. That's why they kept punting. That's why they ended up calling the timeout and kicking the field goal.
Yeah.
He coached to not get blown out tonight.
Yep. Agreed.
The most aggressive he got all night was after they went down 27-3.
Yeah. No doubt. Because he'll take this and he'll spin it on the recruiting trail. We were in the playoff. We only lost by 10. We were right there. He's taking a page out of some other guy's playbook who used to reside around here.
Yep. Another quick one from Antoine Gates. Love you guys. Sean's my dude.
Wow, look at that.
We're all feeling a little less loved there, Antoine.
Right there. This guy right here. Right there.
Iden Benami. Sean's my dude too, by the way. So, Antoine, we got something in common. Iden Benami with a super chat. Thank you, IB, keeping the car up on our drive back to Chicago.
Oh, there you go. You should be home by now, brother. Like,
you guys you going to Sean's house? Iden, you going to Sean's house? What's going on?
Love it.
Brandon Plesner with a super chat. Oh, boy, I can't wait to watch this team inside in New Orleans.
Oh.
I feel you on that one. Had a super chat from Hossy03, super sticker, I should say. Homer TD, my man, go Irish with the super chat. Thank you very, very much. Arguably the best handle on this whole thing. Laura Dern's Jurassic Park shorts. Thank you for super chat. History. Love you, Brian, Vince. Thanks, IB. Somebody better throw a super chat in for my guy, Trev, because Sean got his love from Antoine. Laura Dern's Jurassic Park shorts are showing me and Vince some love. Come on, y'all. Hook up my guy, Trevor. Hook up my guy, Trevor. All right, so we got Homer TD. Let's get a couple of these quick ones here, Vince, so we can D-Troll Hunter. My dude, Marcus Freeman, has one more playoff win than BK. D-Troll Hunter bringing it tonight.
Man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Love it. I believe he also has more top 25 wins in his 3 years than Brian Kelly had in his last 5. Just saying. Oh, my goodness gracious. All right, good stuff there, my man. I think here another one from Laura Dern's Jurassic Park shorts. Let's just keep looking up, kids. I feel you on that one. So those are a couple of the quick ones. B. Straw, met him tonight. Great to meet the guys, the IB guys at the tailgate. 1 down, 3 to go. I love that mindset.
Hey, look at the last one that just came in.
Let's see here. Here we go. Full life. Shout out Trev. There you go.
Hey, what up?
You also got a super chat from Kevin Tracy. Thanks, Kev, very, very much. I'll say this, Trev. I got a lot of compliments about the job you're doing at Irish Breakdown tonight at the tailgate. They're not throwing the super chat your way yet.
No,
you're still
okay.
a young buck, but
I was about to say I gotta earn the super chat keep.
A lot of people very happy.
Was...
very happy with the job you're doing. So we appreciate you very, very much, man.
Appreciate being
no
here.
No doubt about it.
Everybody was awesome today.
All right, let's get back up top here, Vince.
All right, Aiden, thank you so much for another super chat. Let's go. What a win. Love IB and ND. What a run by Jeremiah Love. Game setter. Let's keep this Magic season rolling. Merry Christmas, IB. Sorry to my IU alum. Glad this game is over, though. Go Irish.
Yeah. I love that little Go Irish, GEAUX, since they're heading to New Orleans next. It's beautiful. I love it very much.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, this was a rough week for several fans because there's a lot of people that went to IU that are IU basketball fans and Notre Dame football fans. And it's not that they weren't rooting for Notre Dame, but it was kind of weird to root against Indiana a little bit. And so hopefully they don't have to worry about that anymore. But sorry, y'all. The Candy Stripes got their butts whooped tonight.
Gosh. I was talking with my dad about that. Just that would be tough to lose a game away and then walk back to your car in clown pants. That's tough.
We followed somebody in those clown pants all the way back to the car, and all I could do is just shake my head.
It was not cool you were taunting that little kid, though, about them pants.
I mean, he was a little kid, but I didn't say anything to him specifically. But no, look.
It really was a little kid.
It was a little kid, but I was just talking about the pants in general because there was a lot of those out today. But I also said that I really have a problem with the lack of creativity for most high school basketball
in the state of Indiana.
In the state of Indiana, because they all have the candy stripe pants just in their own school colors. And it's like, come on, guys. Like, can we think outside the box a little bit? That'd be great.
As the scholar Happy Gilmore said once, if I saw myself in those pants, I'd have to kick my own butt. Go ahead, Trav.
No, my dad didn't know that was like IU's basketball warm-up.
Really?
So he was like watching everybody. He's like, what is going on?
Like, really? What is happening right now?
I mean, look, the fact that the football fans needed to wear basketball paraphernalia pretty much tells you everything you need to know about the history of IU. I'll just say it. Look, I can say it now. So there you go.
I've been saying it. They're channeling their inner last Elite Eight appearance from 2002.
You know, I joked about this. I said, look, I got so mad at if I said, hey, listen, y'all need to act like you've been here before. Oh, never mind. Scratch that.
Oh, man. That's why it's acting. It's acting.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Because they ain't been here before.
Kurt needed to dial into that a little bit.
Yeah.
But whatever. All right. Aiden, thank you for another super chat. I expected 15% IU fans look to be 30% or so. I don't think it was that high. I'm sorry.
Since you told me you thought it was about 15. Trev, what did you think it was?
I'd probably around 15-ish. And believe me, it didn't sound like it. I mean, man,
they got quieted down pretty quickly.
That stadium was rocking.
Yeah,
rocking.
I agree. Christopher Hardy.
We met him today.
Beautiful. I love when guys do the score. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
27.
Which is why I'm pissed off about the missed field goal and the fact they didn't punch another one in because more.
I know.
You're costing me money, Mike Demprock. You're killing me. I'm kidding.
Seriously. I'm kidding. Yeah, we need to let them know that.
I'm not going to go ahead and do that. No.
Well, I will. I don't. It's fine. No.
But here's the thing. As long as he keeps putting up more number at the front than the second one, and we just keep getting more and
100%.
more, baby.
100%. Yep. No doubt about that. He says, awesome hanging out with everyone at the tailgate. Wish they hadn't surrendered more yards in the final 4 minutes and 30 seconds than the prior 55, but a win is a win. On to Georgia. Let's get this thing. IGK, blow that tuba, ND win.
Met IGK, met Irish Gordy not tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Vince,
yes.
Right? We both met him at the end.
Yes.
Yeah. I was a little pissed he gave you a hug and was like, what's up, Drisk? And I was like, all right, cool. That's how we're going to roll right now. All right. That's how we go.
We hug it out. We hug it out. That's where I come from. We're huggers. It's okay.
Brothers don't shake hands. Brothers got a hug.
It's fantastic.
It's late, guys.
Seriously.
Man.
I don't have to be at work in 6 hours. It's no big deal.
Man.
You're the one that volunteered to do a wrestling meet at 9 o'clock in the morning.
I'm an idiot. I didn't look at the calendar.
Don't blame us for that.
I'm not. It's all good. It's all good. I love wrestling at 9 a.m. It's cool.
Who does that?
Hey, Clayton 47 with the 1988 little throwback. I like that. Appreciate you. I wish Notre Dame wouldn't go into the witness protection program for a quarter every game. I would have less hypertension. Go Irish, beat dogs.
Love it. Love it.
Zach Nichols, thanks for the super chat. Felt like Notre Dame got a bit conservative, let off the gas offensively, and still rolled. Wait, did y'all see live? Can't wait for further review.
Yeah. And we talked about this,
what?
But just
what?
Yeah, it really just came down to once they got that 14-0 lead, it was just like we're not going to do anything to give them a chance to get back in this game.
Yep, agreed.
And we've seen coaches do that before. We've seen Nick Saban do that before. We've seen other coaches do that before, where they're just like, look, we're not going to give you a chance to get back in this game. We're not going to do something stupid to get you back in this game. And in the playoffs, it's a great time to do that because you got the win.
Yep.
And when they needed to, they dial up with something they needed to. And that's what matters.
Yep. Isaiah Lehman, thanks for the super chat. Great win. Garbage time sig is pretty good. Offense keeps improving. Come on, Georgia. # go Irish.
Appreciate that very much.
I like that one. Jonathan Hagerman, thanks for the super chat. Happy birthday to my dad. It would have been his 80th birthday today. His ashes are at Notre Dame, so he doesn't miss a home game.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
That's really cool.
Sorry he's not with us physically, but so happy that you were able to kind of experience that with him, no doubt.
Alex Rohr, thanks for the super chat. Really happy with the win, but I can't lie. I was very frustrated at certain points, especially in the second half. Would like to see more urgency to dominate. They had IU on the ropes all game.
I mean, I think they did dominate, guys. It was 27-3 with 5 minutes left to go in the game, or 4:50 left to go in the game. I mean, this is the playoffs. You're not just going to beat teams 45-3. This isn't Florida State. This isn't Navy. This isn't, Virginia. This is a good football team, and you dominated them.
They win the next 3 games by a combined 3 points. I don't care.
Right. And some of the stuff tonight, guys, was Indiana. I mean, there were some things like, getting coming out in a drive, you're up 14-0. I think it was after they were up 14-0, right? And they get a delay a game to start a drive. And was that the end of the third quarter? First drive of the third quarter.
That was the first drive of the third quarter. It was right out of halftime. It's like, what is happening?
Like, that's the stuff that's got to get cleaned up.
Especially after the reverse kickoff return. It's like, you're in plus territory. Come on, like you don't have a play ready.
Of the second half, Vince, they started in Indiana territory and got 3 points. Like that, that stuff's got to be, and that's what we said. Mike Denbrock's probably sitting at home stewing right now. That's why Mike Denbrock is not Mike Denbrock. That's why he's had the success he had, because he doesn't look as, hey, we did what we need to do to win. But that doesn't mean in the moment, because like part of this, guys, is you got to be in the moment and you've got to be reading your football team. Where are you right now?
Right.
We're not playing with a lot of urgency at receiver. We're not catching the ball great. We had a tip ball for an interception early in the game. Our defense bailed us out once. We're not going to ask them to do it again.
Right.
But and then there was some, look, again, we be first of all, catch the dang ball and we're having a different conversation about the final score.
Yeah, no doubt.
Right. Catch the ball. If they caught every ball that hit him in the hands, we're having a much different conversation about the final score.
Yep.
But that's what, Trev, like you said, it's been 3 weeks. You shake that rust off, you build on it, you watch the film, you break it down, you move on to next week and say, we got to be better next week. Because some of the things you got away with tonight, you won't get away with against next week against Georgia. Yeah. They didn't play Georgia tonight. They played Indiana.
They did what they needed to do, beat Indiana, and beat them handily, to be honest.
There was never a moment in that game, guys, where I was like, there was one. After the pick, But then once Xavier got that pick, you're like, okay, just put a couple plays together, get out of here, and
then one play later,
and win the field position battle. Don't go 3 and out and have to punt out of your own end zone. And Xavier's like, don't worry, we're not punting anywhere right now, or not Xavier, but Jeremiah. And that was awesome.
Trey Jones with the big old super chat. Thank you, Trey. Appreciate you very much. This season has been a ride. Thanks, IB, for keeping me locked in all season. Let's keep it rolling.
Oh, man, let's just keep it going. We're going to finish 2024 off with Notre Dame still in the college football playoff.
Yep.
A year that's been pretty tough for all of us, and a lot of people in the chat as well. 2024 has sucked for a lot of people. But you know what? Notre Dame's going to help us kind of finish it pretty well. So appreciate y'all. Appreciate you, Trey. Thank you for that, man.
Florida Irish, thanks for the super chat.
Got to meet him and his son tonight.
Okay. He said, love meeting everyone at the tailgate. My 10-year-old is through the moon after the first night game. Now bring on the dogs.
Love it. Thank you for that. It was great meeting you guys very much.
Mm-hmm.
Antoine Gates, thanks for the super chat. What are your thoughts on 3 running back rotation? I love our room, but I hate not seeing Love for extended time. It's all by design, man.
Like, that, and he was coming back off of an injury this game too. Like I would have been shocked if he was handed the ball more than what he was tonight.
I'll say this, Sean, and I want your thoughts on this. Is look, there's been times this year I'm like, Jeremiah probably should have got the rock a little bit more. Tonight was not one of those nights. Number one, for what Trevor said. Number two, I mean, he goes for 99 yards. The next series is Jadarian's, and Jadarian, that drive that took along. I mean, that's part of the thing. But the other thing too is, this is not necessarily the night to be talking about that, because Aeneas was really good tonight when he was in the game. But
he was.
But it comes down to this, Sean. It's Notre Dame's playing a bigger game here. They've got something bigger in mind than just, let's do this, let's do that. This has worked for them all year. It's partly why Jeremiah is as fresh as he's been outside the, tweaking his knee against USC, because when you have this many excellent players, then you ride them. And like there was a game against Florida State where Jeremiah got bottled up, 9 carries for 19 yards. And so what happens? Jadarian goes off. Jeremiah goes down against USC. Jadarian comes in and is like, got you. I mean, that's what works. Stick with your rotation. They trust all those backs. There's times, are there times that I'm like, man, there's times that I was like, man, I would much rather see Jeremiah or Jadarian in the game right now. And I think on the next play, they run the ball to Aeneas, and he makes a great cut, and he's about to house it if he can just not get tripped up by one guy. And you're like, yeah, that's why I should probably shut up and let Dylan McCullough do his thing. Like I coached an All-American running back at the D3 level, right? That's my running back claim to fame. This cat is producing dudes throughout the depth chart, has been doing it for 20 years. Like there's just some coaches you're just like, there's a reason why they're doing this, because they're not playing – they're playing in the moment, but they've got a bigger end game in mind. And first game back from an injury is not the night to necessarily ride Jeremiah when you don't have to. Mm-hmm. There may become a game in the next month where you got to ride him, and if that happens, that happens. And you're going to be super glad he only touched the ball 10 times because he had 8 carries and 2 catches right tonight. So against a team like Indiana.
And then you have to be mindful of the fact that I think Notre Dame was sub at a 5-minute deficit time of possession before that last 15-play drive, or the first 15-play drive in the first half. They kind of flipped that. And so they get series. Usually Jeremiah starts off with the first 2 series, and then Jadarian's going to get the 3rd series. And then Aeneas, as a true freshman, might be considered as their best blocking running back, because he's the 3rd down running back usually, and he's the 2-minute running back.
It's also good with the ball in his hands in those moments too.
Absolutely. So, I mean, they all have their roles, and they play those roles. And if those roles dictate that, this guy might have this many carries or this many touches, then that's fine. As Trevor said, I think his father also mentioned on social media that he battled the flu all week and had flu-like symptoms as well as coming back from that knee injury. So these are the things you just don't know why coaches make the decisions they make, but you have to trust that they know what's best, and they play into a culture that has already been established. Like, all of these guys are going to get playing time. Hey, like you said, Keedron Young came in as a lead blocker.
I was so happy to see him on the field.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And for that kid to get what he went through, coming back from the hamstrings and not getting a lot of run during the regular season, got run at the end of the Purdue game. He played in the first college football playoff game. He'll never forget that.
And the game was still in doubt-ish moment.
Absolutely.
It wasn't,
He'll never forget that moment. So, Dylan McCullough, the culture, he's established. I'm happy looks like he's going to remain with the staff at Notre Dame. So that's another win. But no, I don't fret over Jeremiah Love's touches. I don't. I don't. I mean, would I like to see him get the ball more? Yes, but it's like that's like walking Barry Bonds to get to Frank Thomas or vice versa. It's like, all right, I'll take whoever can drive in and win a run. I'll take it. I don't. If you want to walk somebody to get to the next one, that's fine. But
and they've counted on both of those guys at different times this year to be that guy.
But you can count on both of those guys to be a guy.
And number 20 at other times. Aeneas at other times.
Absolutely.
Look, Sean, you guys. Go ahead, Sean. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I talked about this. You know, people try to argue down about that combination, you know, in Columbus in the backfield. I'm like, dude, I've seen them against good teams.
There's no better backfield.
Come up short.
There's no better backfield.
They're not even close, man. It's just not even close. It's not, man. And Vince, like you said, I can only imagine from the bird's eye view you guys had. Dude, Aeneas was a tackle away from breaking one twice. You know, Jadarian was one tackle away, broke a tackle away from breaking one or breaking two. This is consistently, man. This is consistently each and every game. And so you really have to marvel at having that type of, I don't want to say drop off. They're just different, right? So we know Jeremiah Love is special athletically, but they're all dynamic football players, man. Like, you're not losing that much you might lose some physical abilities, you know, when Jeremiah Love leaves the field. But as far as a football player, you're still getting a darn good football player in the backfield next to Riley Leonard, regardless of who's next to him.
I still say they're 1A and 1B. I do. And I mean, Jeremiah Love is a phenomenal back. He came to this night number 2 on the offense in yards per carry. Behind Jadarian Price. It's like we do this too much, I think, as fans sometimes. We did it with Logan and Audric in 2022. There was nights when Audric was the best dude on the field. There was nights when Logan was the best guy on the field. There was one game where Audric got benched because he fumbled again, and Logan went off of 28 carries and have over 100 yards. You know, like Sean, especially for you and I, and Vince, you know this about me. There's no coach in this roster that just gets the benefit out about everything or is above criticism or above reproach. And that includes Dylan McCullough, includes Mike Mickens. But and honestly, I had the same questions that some of you all did early in the season. Why is Aeneas keep being put on the field on third down? But here's the thing. We've also seen him adjust as well because they used to be putting 22 on the field. I love Devin Ford, great kid, but like he shouldn't have been in there, and they've adjusted. But like Tashawn said, I think it is important. They have a role. They prepare for that role. And when they get to games like this, stick to that role. This is what you prepared to do. Yes, Aeneas is your third down back. So when you get to third down, he's going to be in the game because that's what they prepare for all week. And he's good at it. And he's really good at it. And, you know, hey, next game they play might be one of those games where you need Jadarian and Jeremiah to touch the rock 30 times a game to win. Maybe it is. Maybe it's a game where you need Jeremiah to touch it 25 times to win. That when you get there, you'll be there. But this was not that night. I didn't know that about the flute thing, Sean, so that's interesting. Couple quick super chats. Josh Phillips, my guy. Thank you very much, Josh. Offense, bully ball, defense, dominating. I think it's fair. It's a fair analysis of the game. Very much so. Jimmy Page, 4 is just different. You aren't wrong. You aren't wrong. Fred London, Trevor, in your best ASMR voice, give me your best MyBookie pitch. We're not going to do that tonight because they're no longer paying us to be doing that tonight, but we appreciate you, Trev. We appreciate you. You did a great job with that. And Vince, I was told I got to bust your chops tonight because I was told that you get all BK on people when you say sauce in the My Nugs ad, the Wendy's Nugs ad. You get a little Brian Kelly fake Southern accent when you go sauce. Oh, now so I'm going to go listen to it, man.
I mean, I don't know that it's fake. I used to work on the south side of South Bend. Doesn't that not count?
It's a little different type of Southern there, brother. Okay. But hey, it's all good. All good. I mean, Brian Kelly lives south of Canada. So, I mean, you know, he's technically Southern. That's where his
accent I grew up south of Canada. Come on now. Jeez.
What y'all know about the dirty South?
No respect.
Come on now. Y'all know nothing about it.
No respect.
All right. Full Life shows officially past 3 hours, 3 a.m. Eastern. Go Irish. We weren't going to cut y'all short tonight, man. They got a first playoff win in school history. We're going to have some fun with this one. Full Life with a super chat. Vince, I also have to be at work in 6 hours. The show and victory's worth it. Shout out to Trev. We appreciate you, Full Life. Very, very, very much.
Hosey03 or Hossy03, thank you for the super chat. Tell me why I had no doubts when Mitch Jeter kicked a field goal. It just felt like the perfect time for him to regain the fan base's confidence. I had doubts. I'll just say it. I think Mitch Jeter's a great kicker. I do, but it has nothing to do with the mental side of being a kicker. When you got the yips, you got the yips. When you can't mentally do it, you can't mentally do it. And the perfect example is the last game. Every one of his PATs would have been good from 45, right? I mean, they're down the middle. They look good. Everything was good. But then as soon as he lines up for a field goal, it's like, can't do it. And so when Marcus Freeman trotted out the field goal unit for a 49-yard field goal, I was like, I looked right at Brian. I was like, what do we think, man? Is this the right decision? He's like, I don't know that I'd be pulling the trigger right now.
We both said that. I wouldn't have. And what I said afterwards was like, I wouldn't have had the guts that Marcus Freeman showed on that instance to say, we're going to give this kid a chance to kick a field goal.
Came through.
Nailed it.
And then he went over to Marcus Freeman and they were talking to each other. And it was very clear. Mitch Jeter said something along the lines of, keep giving me these opportunities. I got you, coach. I was like, okay, he's got it back. Let's go. Let's roll.
We didn't agree with it in the moment, Vince. But we also both said afterwards, shout out to Marcus Freeman for doing what I wouldn't have had the guts to do.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that was a huge moment for Notre Dame because they needed – and then when he nailed the shorter one, and then they had a false start, and then he nailed the next short one, it's like – and I showed you the replay. He opened his hips a little bit too much, so that's why he kind of pushed it a little bit right. But the leg swing was – clean.
It's good snap.
It didn't look like he was aiming it. He looked like he had a really heavy leg because he was aiming it.
Yeah.
And it was clean. It was crisp. It was fast. And like you said, that was such the mental confidence. Because this kid kicked over a 2 whole year period, kicked over 90% in the SEC. It's not a physical thing. It was a mental thing and a health thing. And tonight he looked healthy, physically and mentally. And drilled this, and I did not agree that he didn't get the ball very high. That's a very poor job blocking by the right side of the field goal unit.
The right side did a very poor job. Very poor job.
But they're now 10 of 21 on field goals, which before they were 8 of 18, so they improved. They got better tonight.
Good Lord. Nerd for life. Thanks for the super chat. Why can't our wide receivers catch the ball? It's always 6 and 5.
It's a great in 88. He's had a few of those this year as well, which has been frustrating. But I'll say this about both of those kids, though. Those drops were frustrating as heck. But they both made very clutch plays tonight also.
Agreed.
Bo had a couple really important grabs in this game.
Yep.
Jordan had some very good grabs in this game. So, it sucks they dropped the ball. You got to make those catches. But what I'll say is tonight they didn't let those drops get in their heads, especially Jordan, because this happened on his first target. And Vince, I got to go back and watch that play on TV, but watching it live, I thought if he catches that ball – Sean, you watched it on TV, right? Did he have the crease that I think he had on that first drop on that screen?
Phase on.
It looked like he had a seam on.
Yeah, he started running without securing the ball. That's what happened. He had already turned his head upfield. And
he saw that crease, you think?
And saw the crease, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
If that screen pass to Bo Collins wasn't tipped, he might still be running.
On the 3rd and long?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, I saw that thing open up and I was like, he's gone. And then I didn't see the ball land in his hands, and then I just watched the offense jog off the field. So I was like, all right, well.
Yep.
Zach Martin, thanks for the super chat. Snead stepping up and filling the KVA rush role was huge. Mills, Bryant, health to shut down Georgia run will be huge. Make quarterback beat the secondary.
Yeah.
No, I agree with that. Because they're going to run him. I mean, they're going to run Stockton. That's one of the things that he's good at. I get it. He's more mobile than Beck, but can he throw the ball consistently? We don't know. Haven't seen him.
You talk about growing up in front of our eyes. I mean, there's still things Jalen's need. He still misses holes, and there's a couple times tonight he didn't. But you guys remember the South Carolina game back in 22 when he got called for 2 15-yard penalties because he got hit first, and he responded by hitting back? You guys remember that? Tonight, he got hit. Guy looked like he punched him in the face. I didn't see the replay. It looked like that guy punched Jaden on the sidelines. And he just went like this and walked off the field. So it was a 15-yard penalty on the other team.
The kid gave him a two-handed shove in the chest. Is that
what he did? Because his back was to us.
Right.
He went like this.
So Jalen,
like the kid punched him in the head.
Jalen made the tackle. Obviously, they went out of bounds together. It wasn't like a dirty tackle or anything like that. And then Jalen kind of stood up over him a little bit. I'm just saying, a little bit.
All good.
And 12 took exception and gave him a two-hand shove to the chest.
And Jalen went like this.
I mean, it got to 15.
Right,
I mean, that's. Yep. I was a little nervous when I saw him kind of stand up and kind of look down. I was like, ooh, be careful. But then it was totally overshadowed by the two-hand shove. So it didn't matter. And he didn't, because that's what 2 years ago when he did that, Vince, he got shoved first, hit first, and then he responded. Right. That's growing up. Yeah, 100%. And not hurting your football team. Yeah, helping them big time. But to Zach's point, though, Jalen has grown up a lot. Just this season, which is how he's played. You go back to how he was in September. He made a lot of mistakes in September. Just every week, he just gets more and more confident. Now Golden keeps putting him in positions where he's comfortable. But he was really good off the edge tonight.
Yeah, he had some choice words for Kurt Signetti in the locker room after the game.
Did he really?
Yeah, it's kind of out there. I wonder if they're going to have a talk with him.
That'll get addressed.
Yeah.
Oh, that lie! I saw without the audio. Yeah. But yeah, there were some things.
I mean, I'm not mad at him for the sentiments, but you could tell like Kurt Signetti hit a button inside that building.
Yeah. I would too.
He hit a button.
Yeah.
Because coaches and players were, like I told you guys, when you guys see how the interaction between he and Coach Freeman at the end of the game,
I've never seen
really icy.
Freeman act like that.
It was icy. It was icy.
I watched it. It was icy.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what I said earlier, guys. Like, keep disrespecting this football team. Because in Mark, you listen to Marcus Freeman's next press conference, he's going to be super classy, super respectful. Hey, we're just focused on us, blah, 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 blah. We don't worry about all that outside. They hear it. They hear it. And they hear it because we didn't hear anything in the press conferences about them being at all worried about what Indiana was saying. It's all about us. But you watch the game and you see what happened after. They heard it. Yeah. So please keep disrespecting this football team. Mm-hmm. Please keep doubting this. Please give Marcus Freeman more and more reasons to tell his football team they don't respect us. Please. Because it hasn't worked for a lot of people this season.
Jacob Steely, thank you so much for the super chat. Appreciate it very, very much. Feel like that movie, The Matrix, when Morpheus says he's beginning to believe. I'm beginning to believe. So many good things were happening to ND. I was waiting for the bad. Let's go. Love you, IB and IB Nation.
My man Jacob has had a tough time getting over the Northern Illinois game. And, brother, you're not alone.
I get it.
You're not alone because it's not just about that. We have a history of this kind of stuff. But, yeah, I think more and more people are starting to come around, and even more will do so next week. If like, to me, next week's the game that's the are you over the hump kind of
completely
thing.
Agree.
Not this one.
Completely agree. Although there was a part of me that logically I knew Notre Dame was the better football team, but like I've been let down so many times in the postseason by Notre Dame in my lifetime that I was like,
I think you and Trev also had a little bit of trepidation about things that Sean and I don't have to deal with because I just don't go out in the public that much because I'm always working.
Fair.
And then Sean lives in Chicago and Indiana. It ain't basketball season. What are you talking about Indiana for, right? But y'all live around a lot of Indiana fans because of your work and where you live. I think in the back of your mind, y'all, especially you, Vince, had a little bit of a God, they can't lose this game because these people are being insufferable.
Yes.
Yeah.
1,000% yes on that.
Yeah.
1,000% yes on that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I won't be insufferable, but they would have been to me.
That's what I'm saying. They would have been. They're going to be insufferable if they lose this game.
Yeah. Now they're just going to be like, well, basketball season. It's all good. They'll get over it real quick. And they should have. And by the way, I know there's no IU fans listening, but you should be very happy about your season. Very happy. That's a great season.
A heck of a football team.
It's a great season. And if you can parlay this into some more success moving forward, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Our frustration is not with this football team. This is a good football team.
Yeah.
It's the obnoxious manner in which their fans conducted themselves
and head coach
the last couple weeks. Yeah.
I'll say it.
Yeah.
Jay Wick 13, thanks for the super chat. Crazy to think, but this was Notre Dame's first major postseason win in my lifetime. Absolutely unreal how a 10-point win can feel like such a blowout. Well, because it was. I mean, but Jay Wick, you're not wrong, dude. Like, this is their last one was in what, 93?
Yeah.
I was 12. So
it was technically 1994. It's January 1st, 1994 is the 93 season.
So I was 13 for 2 days. Got it. So listen, like that was, I've been waiting a very, very long time as well, my friend. I mean, I have 5 kids and 3 of them are older than I was when they last won a postseason game. How about that?
Like this,
right? Game. I mean, like a legit postseason game. Yeah.
So I still say the 17 win over LSU was a big bowl game. It just had a lame name. Like the Camping World Bowl. It had a stupid name, but like that was a big.
Is that what they won? Was it the camp?
Because it was Music City was 2014.
Okay, Camping World. They also beat Iowa State.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. It was the Citrus Bowl. Excuse me. It was the Citrus Bowl. They beat them in the Citrus Bowl. Camping World Bowl was 2. You were correct. Was 2 years later with Iowa State, but it was in Camping World Stadium.
Okay, gotcha.
The Citrus Bowl is kind of it's just not considered a quote unquote, New Year's
right. It's
bowl,
the next step
down. That was a big one opponent. But yeah, this is clearly the biggest postseason one they've had since they beat A&M in 1990 at the end of the 1993 season. So I just got to keep it rolling, right? But I will say it's a huge. I like he said major postseason win. He didn't say, did you get the bowl game thing off your back? Because this wasn't a bowl game.
Correct.
It was a major postseason win, but
we're going to have that conversation, over the next 12 days. Yeah.
Yes, we will.
Full Life. This is a multiple super chat from Full Life. So, but this one's a big one. So thank you so much, Full Life. Appreciate it very much. The Ohio State game has been referenced previously, but was tonight the loudest game at Notre Dame Stadium. Go Irish. Can't wait to stomp Georgia. Although from someone who lives in SEC country, ND will still catch stuff for beating Georgia team without their starting quarterback.
100%. That's going to happen.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
I want to kick this first part to you, Trev, because of the 3 of us, you were the only one that was in the stadium for both. Vince and I were we were there at the beginning of that game, but we weren't outside very long in that game. We spent most of the press box, and it was closed that night. You were in the stadium for both, like in the stands for both. So I think you're the best person to answer this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Ohio State game at its peaks were louder than this game because that Ohio State game was absolutely nuts. But this game was like more consistently loud. I mean, every first down, it was loud. Every second down, it was loud. And then the Ohio State game, it was, the 4th and 2 was deafening. That Ohio State didn't convert that jet sweep. And, basically Ohio State's basically the entirety of their final drive was very loud. And when Sam Hartman threw that touchdown pass to Rico Flores, it was very loud. But I mean, honestly, in between there was a pretty boring game. I mean, it was 14-10 with a minute something left in the 4th quarter. But this game was loud from start to finish. And so I will leave it as, simply put, the peaks of the Ohio State game were louder than this game, but this game was more consistently loud throughout.
Take that.
They gave them a lot more to be loud about tonight.
100%.
Yeah. So thanks for answering that, Trev. Couple quick ones here real quick. Ryan Randolph, thank you so much for this one. Said, what a great win. I want to give a quick shout out to my daughter graduating yesterday from the IU School of
Nursing.
No worries, she is all Irish. I raised her right. Yes, sir. Thank you guys for all you do. And absolutely, daughter of Ryan Randolph, congratulations so much. I know that I've been told that that's a pretty intensive type of program, so congratulations on that. And you get to get away from those IU folks and get into the real world, and hopefully you have great success. And we love the fact that you're an IU fan or a Notre Dame fan. Absolutely love that. Appreciate you very, very much on that one. Lucas Wilson said, thank you for Super Chat. He says, I posted I would pay $100 when we won a championship. BD sent me the link to buy merchandise for my wife and kids. IB Nation, we are indie. I just put a link below. I'm going to be updating the store with a couple things in the next few days. But just wanted to kind of get that. It's just a couple, just nothing major. Just some items are out and some different things I'm going to get in there. So appreciate you very, very, very much on that. Michael S., how about Del Alexander winning a championship as a head coach? Who knew? Del Alexander didn't win a championship as the head coach. He's the interim head coach at UNLV, won a bowl game. And you know what? Respect to Coach Alexander. I'd never had anything personal with him. I just didn't think he was a very good receivers coach. I everything I've ever heard about him as a guy is he's a good dude. I just didn't think he was a very good receivers coach. But I guess you could say he won the whatever bowl game they played in championship, I guess. But I got no ill will towards Coach Alexander, and I'm happy for him. I hope he continues to have success. So, yeah. Miles Whitaker, no question. Just thanks for keeping the party rolling after the game. You are very, very welcome, my friend. Very, very welcome. All right, here's let's get back up top here. We knocked a couple of those out real quick.
Michael S., thanks for the super chat. How would you compare Notre Dame's performance against IU with Ohio State's?
Similar defensive dominance. Notre Dame's offense was a lot better than Ohio State's offense. Now, I know you look at the 27 points compared to 38, but Ohio State had a 79-yard punt return touchdown and another touchdown set up. I thought Notre Dame threw the ball better. Efficiency-wise than they did against Ohio State, but they ran the ball way better against Indiana. Ohio State ran for 115 yards against Indiana, and 39 of that came late in the game with the game no longer in doubt when Travion took it for 39-yard touchdown. But if you look at the numbers, Ohio State had 316 yards of offense, a lot of short fields, 5.75 yards per play. Notre Dame went for 394, 5.9 yards per play, 5.88 yards per play. So I just thought when they passed for the same number of yards, I thought Notre Dame just threw the ball a little bit more efficiently tonight. I thought Ohio State did a little better job in pass pro. But Notre Dame was a way better rushing team tonight than Indiana was. So I think similar performances. I just think Notre Dame's was a little bit more convincing. There was no fluky plays and muffed punts and punt return stuff like that kind of led to that victory. Notre Dame just literally whooped them from start to finish. Forget Indiana took the opening drive of that game and went right down the field on scored touchdown. So that's all I think. Everybody see it similarly or anybody see it differently?
No, the exact same. Notre Dame won on a bigger stage too.
Yeah,
so
that's a great point, Trev. Great point.
Bronx ND fan, thank you so much for the super chat. Coach, you're a prophet. X gonna give it to you. So happy for this kid and his journey. Recruits, take a look.
Yeah,
choose hard.
I appreciate you, man, that you called me a prophet. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to say it's a big game. Xavier Watts is gonna play like a stud. I'd like to say that's just because I'm wicked smart, but that's just because I'm moderately observant. And I've watched this kid do that in every big stage he's been on. It didn't take a whole lot. I have made far more bold predictions than Xavier Watts is going to be a dude on a big stage because that's just Xavier Watts doing Xavier Watts things. So, but I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you very much, and I love the IB logo on your avatar. I appreciate you, man, very, very much.
Christopher Hardy, thanks for the super chat. For throat lozenges for Trevor, I think is what this is supposed to be. As a vocalist, I can tell you should rest your voice for the next few days and don't do any serious damage by further abuse.
Man, I just need to rest in general. I'm running on 2 hours of sleep, and I'm driving back to Indy tomorrow morning at like 7 a.m.
Oh, Trevor.
So, why?
Trevor.
Why do you have to go back that early? Just missed
because I want to.
Okay,
because I want to.
Too much,
dude. You're gonna want to
No,
sleep, brother.
I want to sleep in my bed. If I got articles to write tomorrow, I want to do it.
Gotcha.
Not in my office.
I get that. Well, he'll get the rest of the voice because he won't have to do a show again until Monday, probably. So, yeah, no doubt. Get that rest tomorrow, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Fat Fish, thanks for the super chat. Just left 14-hour shift at Brothers. Love watching IU fans eat crow. Bring on the dogs. Third time's a charm.
Yes, sir.
I do enjoy a lot of good crow eating.
Yes.
Not gonna lie.
Especially from obnoxious people that have no reason to be that way.
100%.
It's like,
100%.
just enjoy your team. You don't got to be,
You know how many times I'm going to hear, people that were just so IU. It's like, well, I do like Notre Dame football, so I'm still happy.
Oh,
that kind of nonsense.
Leaving the stadium was hilarious.
Oh,
yeah. People that sat near us in our section that, we get there and it's Signetti this and Curtis Rourke that and D'Angelo Bonds this. They were leaving the stadium and it was, like, we all thought we were going to be 6-6 to start the year. And now look at us. This was
exactly.
a good year.
This is how you should have been before the game.
Correct.
Here's my thing. If you're going to act out and be crazy, stand on business and be that way when you lose.
Yeah.
It's
okay.
Don't lose and get absolutely dominated and be like, oh, well, it was fun while it lasted, right, gang?
It was a good year.
No,
We had a
dude.
good year.
Yeah.
Man, no.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyways.
I'm going to get this one out of the way from Ryan Yoder. Ryan, thanks for the super chat. Could Notre Dame get lucky and have more Georgia players get DUIs before the game? I'm not touching that one. I don't want any of those kids to have that type of scenario.
Nope.
I don't want them to hurt their lives like that. I don't want to put somebody else's lives like that. And I don't think Notre Dame should – I hope nobody should have that opinion for not just personal reasons, but if you think this Notre Dame team is what it is, then you want them to be at their potential best. And I don't want to hear any crap about this guy being injured. There's not a team in the playoff, in my opinion, that's lost more top players to injury this season than Notre Dame. So I don't want to hear jack. Oh, you're playing with your backup quarterback. Well, Notre Dame's playing without their All-American cornerback. They're playing without their stud 335-pound left tackle, their best pass rusher who's a future high draft pick if he can stay healthy. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hear anything about injuries in this football game. And not to mention they were losing to Texas when Carson Beck went out of that football game. So, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
Thistlemore Pottery. Thank you so much for the super chat. Speaking of Riley Leonard being under 100 yards, I think it was Reggie Brooks in the post-game show. Was Riley concerned about them not pushing? Oh, okay, yeah. Post-game show was really concerned about them not pushing the ball down the field more. He thought maybe that would be their demise. Thoughts?
I mean, I thought they pushed the ball down the field a little bit tonight. There just
I thought
wasn't
they pushed
the need for it.
And IU wasn't giving them looks to push the ball down the field.
No, I mean, that's the whole point of what we talked about at the beginning, Vince, is they were playing two safeties back. Look, Trev, you and I talked about this the other night, man. At some point in time in this postseason, Notre Dame's going to have to beat somebody throwing the football, and they're going to have to beat somebody throwing the football down the field. I'm not going to pretend that may not come. I just think that's going to have to happen, and we're going to find out in that moment if they can do that when it matters.
Sure.
We don't know that yet. I mean, Vince, I said to you tonight, the big concern I have the next 3 games is if they need their receivers to go out and win them a football game. I'm concerned about that.
Said that multiple times tonight.
I'm concerned about that. Can they make the big plays they need in the clutch moments when they're down 3, or it's a third down and they're up 3, and you don't want to let that other offense go? We don't know the answer to that. They haven't been put in that position. So that's a fair thing. I don't think pushing the ball down the field's like this huge must that you have to do, but you're going to have to hit some big plays in these games. But I actually thought they took some of those shots tonight when they were there. Vince, you looked at me like every time they get cover 1 in this situation, they're taking shots down.
They were. I mean,
yeah, and you were correct.
And it was a big one at the end. That sealed it. I mean, I'm not as worried about them pushing the ball down the field because they have shown me that they are willing to do it. If it's need to, it just
they're not going to force it.
It wasn't there. Why would you force it? Yeah, it wasn't there. Full life. This is like the 3rd or 4th super chat. Thank you so much.
Appreciate y'all very much. Man.
Yes. Twofold question: is Mitch Jeter back to form now? And the block kick wasn't on him? ? Or does the block kick raise concern for Jeter again?
Vince, I thought his leg swing was fine.
Yep.
I did think he got the ball a little bit too much in the middle, which is why it didn't get as high. But the leg swing, like where if you want to get worried, Vince, it's when you see the leg swing looks funky. And that's what you were talking about. Like when he just aimed the heck out of that ball. This is what Vince was saying earlier. He was like on the PATs against USC. I mean, it was clean. It was crisp. Good follow through. It was a nice, fast leg swing. And he aimed the crap out of that 26-yard field goal because it was in his head.
Right. Yep.
Right. And so that's what I mean. I didn't see that tonight. I don't think that's going to bother him. A blocked kick usually doesn't bother kickers. Honestly, it's more I pushed it right, I hooked it left that bothers them. I don't think that's going to bother him a whole lot.
Yep. Agreed. Fred, Lundian, thanks for the super chat. I coach high school basketball. We took a butt whooping tonight. My boys battled. We're just rebuilding. Having said that, it feels great to see the second half and ND dominates. Go Irish. I feel better now.
Keep teaching them, man. That's the big thing. Just keep teaching them. That's it, man. Keep plugging away.
Plenty of opportunities in high school basketball, too. So
got another one from Full Life, man.
Woo,
appreciate you, bud.
Full Life. Appreciate you very much. If a BK team can almost beat Georgia, then a Freeman team can get over the hump. If not, I'll just exclusively be women's basketball fan and listen to Sean. LOL. Go Irish. Shout out Trev.
Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you.
It's funny.
And women, hey, you know what though? I don't care if Notre Dame's Notre Dame's football team goes and wins a national championship, wins their next games by 100 points. I'm still freaking watching the women's basketball.
Absolutely.
And they're not even healthy yet.
Right.
We haven't seen Maddie, like Liza Carlin's play 2 games.
Right.
Coming back.
Like a game and a half. I mean,
Olivia and Hannah are still getting used to each other on this. Man, this team is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, they're fun to watch. There's no doubt.
So I don't care if Notre Dame, Vince, I'm telling they could win their next 3 games by 30, and I'm tuning into every women's basketball game. This team is fun to watch.
Correct. Actually, they're going to be up before the football team. I think they play on Sunday. So there you go.
There you go.
Patrick James, thanks for the super chat. Admittedly, was worried coming into the game. It had 2021 Cincinnati vibes to me. Definitely relieved. I could see that to a degree. I could see that.
This ain't Brian Kelly anymore.
Exactly.
Folks.
And that's the difference. That's the difference.
Say it, Sean. Say it.
That's enough said, man. Yeah, those words have never been spoken with the perfect comedic timing that you just laid out there. This is not a Brian Kelly football team. It's not. It's just not.
That's it. Ryan Yoder, I was just trying to make a joke. My apologies, guys. It's all good, Ryan. No worries, man.
But thanks for the additional super chat. You did not have to do that, by the way, but we appreciate it very much.
Yeah. Lord Derns, Jurassic Park. Love you too, SD2 mics. That would be you, Sean. Yes. And then last one here, fellas, from our guy, Mark Stewart.
Thanks, Mark, for the super chat. Appreciate you very much. This team is fun to watch. I live in Atlanta, and the smack talk has already started. We will take down Georgia.
Let it flow, man. Let it happen.
Let them do their talking.
Every fan base run their mouth. 2 weeks of Indiana's team's not very good. Notre Dame is slow. Notre Dame's They don't know what it's like playing in the Big Ten. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just let the Georgia fans talk, right? Because here's the deal: Georgia's one of those teams that has a right to talk like that about Notre Dame. Because they've played Notre Dame in 2 big games and they beat them both times.
Yeah.
So Notre Dame needs to earn the right to shut Georgia up, which they haven't done. Like I said, unless you're a fan of Georgia, Michigan, or Georgia, Ohio State, or Alabama, I don't want to hear jack from you about what Notre Dame has or has not done. I don't want to hear jack from you, but because Notre Dame hasn't beat those teams, right? But Georgia has a right to run their mouth about Notre Dame. I mean, it's kind of silly. You act like Notre Dame sucks when your 2 wins over them are by combined 7 points, but that's a different conversation we're a better team now. Oh, yeah, Notre Dame's just the same exact football team they were in those 2 games. Okay, sure, buddy. But here's the thing, guys. A lot of teams have talked trash about Notre Dame. Shut them up. And if you don't go down there and play that way, then this is going to keep on this. But, Mark, just do what you've been doing all year, man. Keep that head down. We'll see. Okay, yeah, you guys got a great team. Yeah, we'll see. But let them do all the talking they want, because then take receipts. So then when they start talking about, we didn't have our quarterback, we didn't have this, we didn't have that, then after the game, then you got all, hey, hold on a second now. Before the game, you told me that my team sucks. You told me my team couldn't do this. You told me my team couldn't play. We can't come down south and compete with y'all SEC boys, blah, 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 blah. Save the receipts, man. All of them. Keep those receipts, right? Because unlike somebody else who's taking receipts right now, you actually have a team to support and a coach to support that can actually back that up, right? So when I hear about that other coach talking about taking receipts, I just feel like, Smokey and Friday. Write it down, take a picture. Keep those receipts because I'm keeping mine too. And that's what I would suggest all Notre Dame fans do. Just do what the Notre Dame football team's going to do. Hey, look, we respect Georgia's great football team because they are. We respect what they've done because it's impressive. We're just going to focus on doing what we do. That's it. And then let the talking happen on the field in New Orleans, and then afterwards, we'll be here and we'll have some fun. The last one from Full Life, man, nothing to talk about. Love y'all. Go Irish. We love you too, man. We
feeling it tonight. Appreciate
you so much. All of y'all with super chats, we appreciate you. All of y'all in the chat that did give super chats, we appreciate you. Appreciate y'all. Love y'all too. Great day. I was so happy to meet all of you, Vince. I mean, this was. Look, Trev, you were there. Loaded tailgate today. So many great people. My parents had a blast. I had a blast. Just so many awesome people in our community, man. I just absolutely love y'all very much. And we're very blessed to not just be able to talk Notre Dame football, to just have this community together. So we appreciate y'all very much. And we got another one coming up. 12 days, everybody. We'll be back. We're taking tomorrow off. We're just going to watch some football. Vince and I will be back on Sunday. Because as you can tell, we all have to let our voices recover a little bit. Vince and I made the mistake of being outside the first quarter and a half where we're allowed to cheer. And so we got a little loud, especially after Jeremiah housed that one.
Oh, that's great.
But we'll be back Sunday night, Vince and I, to do the Upon Further Review. And then, of course, y'all will hear me and Trev all next week. Going to get Sean on the show. We're going to preview this big old game we got coming up, guys, because this is the one that where Notre Dame gets to prove where they are. Mm-hmm. Either you're not quite there yet, or, hey, y'all, we're going to be a problem. That's what Notre Dame's going to get the chance to prove here in 12 days, and that's what you want. This is the path. You don't want the easy path where everybody can keep doubting you because you beat Boise and you beat SMU and you beat – this is the path you wanted. Are you that team or not? You get a chance to prove it or not in 12 days. And any competitor, and that's what Marcus Freeman is, and that's what his football team is, wants this kind of challenge.
Yep. Because
this is your gauge. You're either there or you're not.
Yep.
And you're going to get to find that out against Georgia. And I can't wait. Because I don't respect Kirby Smart. Y'all know that. But I respect the program he has on the field. Don't respect it off the field.
Yeah.
But you respect the heck out of it on the field. Because to go 11-2 against that schedule, they're a good football team. And they're always going to be at their best in these type of moments. You're going to get their best shot. Got to make sure you give them yours. And that's what we're going to get to find out. But thank y'all so much for being with us tonight. Vince, why don't you take us out of here?
All right. Well, thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us tonight. Really appreciate it. It's always fun after a big old win like this one was. And Notre Dame notching their first ever college football playoff victory, 27-17 over the Hoosiers of IU. And if I never hear that chant again, it'll be too soon. So for all the IU fans out there, you guys enjoy basketball season. We're going to continue with football season, and I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. Make sure you hit that like button, that subscribe button.
That was the most petty thing was said all night.
That was super petty, Vince.
I'm getting there.
It was beautiful. It was so beautiful, Vince.
I'm getting there,
that was
man.
So beautiful.
Yeah, the women's team is probably better than the men's team. So
you're probably not wrong about that either. So, but hey, they're
not even good at basketball anymore.
They're really not. I'm just saying. It is what it is. It is what it is. You guys enjoy that, IU fans, and we're gonna enjoy watching more football. So. You guys hit that like button, that subscribe button, that notification bell, share with your family and friends. Of course, jump on the boards@irishbreakdown.com, where we talk about winning football. So we will talk to you guys next time on the Irish Breakdown podcast.